Welcome to Rentschler Field in Hartford, Connecticut, where the UConn Husky faithful gather in anticipation of tonight's game against the fourth-ranked team in the country, the West Virginia Mountaineers, who are led by a terrific tandem of sophomore runners. Running back Steve Slayton, who ranks third in the nation in rushing, has become a serious Heisman Trophy candidate and is closing in on a second straight 1,000-yard season. But he's not the only weapon on the ground. Quarterback Patrick White might be the best running quarterback in all of college football. He ran for 247 yards and 4 touchdowns in his last game. Can Connecticut spoil the Mountaineers' national title hopes? The answer is next. ESPN Primetime College Football is broadcast in high definition, presented by Pioneer Plasma. Welcome to cold and windy East Hartford, Connecticut, as number 4 West Virginia, in search of a school record 14th straight victory and one of 7 remaining undefeated teams in college football, visits Rentschler Field to take on 3-3 Connecticut. Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Pash alongside Rod Gilmore. Trevor Maddich, Heather Cox will join us shortly. Well, if you're in the mood for offensive football, you've come to the right place. West Virginia, third in the nation in scoring, number 1 in rushing. They had 457 rushing yards, guys, last week against Syracuse. Rod Gilmore, is this the most dazzling offense in college football?
I tell you one thing, it's a lot of fun to watch. It's an outstanding offense, and they're incredibly fast. Fast players and a fast pace with a no-huddle offense, and they start fast. They've outscored their opposition 77-14 in the first quarter. So, Trevor, their speed is incredibly impressive.
It is, especially with quarterback Pat White and running back Steve Slayton. And it's not just normal speed, it's ludicrous speed. After they beat Mississippi State this year, Bulldogs head coach Sylvester Croom said that they had never seen speed quite like West Virginia possesses. This from an SEC coach. And Dave, they're looking to parlay that speed into far more than just a victory tonight.
And I've got a present for you later for that Spaceballs movie reference. Pretty good, Trev. Yeah, they're hoping to lead West Virginia not only to a Big East championship, but to a national title as well, perhaps. And with more on that, here's Heather Cox.
Well, the question for number 4 West Virginia is just what's at stake. For the Mountaineers, it's all about maintaining a chance to play for the national championship. They're currently number 5 in the BCS, but they know that without that marquee schedule of the teams ahead of them, that they need to continue to score style points in order to stay in the hunt. Now, Coach Rodriguez said, I know that we have to go undefeated, but I also believe as a BCS team, if we're undefeated, we deserve a chance to play for a national championship. And guys, with over 50-mile-an-hour winds tonight, it's a good thing West Virginia scores most of its style points on the ground.
All right, Heather, and meanwhile, Connecticut, if it wasn't enough that it had to play West Virginia, bad news in the last 10 days for Husky fans as head coach Randy Edsall had to dismiss 5 players for violation of team rules. We'll tell you what those players did, and we'll discuss that later on as part of our Friday night debate. Meanwhile, Connecticut's running attack. Terry Cawley, one of the best running backs in the Big East Conference. A senior averaging close to 100 yards per game. Will he be able to keep Pat White and Steve Slayton on the sidelines? That may be the key if Connecticut is going to win this game tonight. West Virginia and Connecticut, the Mountaineers, look to keep their title hopes alive when we come back.
ESPN's College Football Primetime, brought to you by Peak Long Life Antifreeze. When you peak, you win. And new DiGiorno garlic bread pizza. Great toppings on garlic bread crust. It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
Chilly and windy here in East Hartford, and with more on the weather, we go back down to the field and Heather Cox as West Virginia gets ready to take on UConn. Heather?
Indeed. In fact, it's so windy that there's a wind advisory across the entire state, expected up to 50-mile-an-hour gusts throughout the evening. In fact, over 4,000 people in the state are currently without power. It has also rained off and on all day with a torrential downpour about 3 hours ago, but the field is in excellent condition. It's completely drained with no standing water. And I talked to both coaches about the wind, which is what they're, of course, most concerned about. Both of them said it will certainly affect our special teams game and our passing game. Something to watch for, guys.
No standing water, Heather, but Rod and Trev, you guys were down on the field before the game. Was it a little bit slick?
Yeah, it was very slick. It was a little bit slicker towards the end zone than the middle of the field.
And that's the nature of the grass down there. It's not that the field is loose, that it might give way. It's that the surface of the grass is slippery.
As we mentioned in the open, West Virginia comes into this game the top-ranked rushing team in college football. And Steve Slayton, Pat White, and Owen Schmidt are impact players for West Virginia. Have over 1,600 rushing yards as a trio.
Yeah, and don't forget about Owen Schmidt. He's a real key. He really sets up the running game with his great blocking on the perimeter.
Slayton third in the nation in rushing. He's just a sophomore. Meanwhile, Pat White making his 12th start. At quarterback, he is 11-0 as a starter. His first start was last year against Connecticut.
I was talking to Jim Donnan, our colleague, before the ball game about the wind and the potential impact that could have on White because of the way he throws his ball. It sails a little bit.
Connecticut kicking off. It'll be taken at the 2-yard line by Vaughn Rivers. And he only gets to the 16. Big hit on special teams by Robert Vaughn. West Virginia, as we mentioned, averages 42 points per game. They have a very good offensive line. Dan Moses is the anchor along with Sheffy Figner, who's a terrific athlete. Is Danner at left guard and Stanchek at left tackle.
This is a small offensive line intentionally so that they can use their speed to get outside and downfield the block for the fast quarterback and running back.
West Virginia has scored on its opening possession in the last 7 games. However, they're backed up to their 16 to start this drive. And it's a handoff to Slayton on first down. Penalty flag in. Slayton down to the 20. 4 yards on the play. But again, a marker is down. Tackled by Ray Blackman.
It's a chop block.
Dennis Hennigan, our referee. So this is coming back. Chop block on West Virginia. Patrick White leads the nation in yards per carry for someone with at least 50 rushes on the year. He's from Daphne, Alabama, originally committed to LSU, but after feeling like the Tigers would play him at wide receiver or perhaps on defense, he decided to come to West Virginia after he was courted by Rick Trickett, who's now the offensive line coach here at West Virginia. He had coached at LSU and felt that White could play quarterback for the Mountaineers.
And he's one of those guys.
Here we go, block below the waist. Number 83 on the offense. Penalty is half the distance to the goal from the spot of the foul. Remains first down.
And Pat White is one of those guys that plays with a chip on his shoulder because he felt like people weren't going to give him a chance to play quarterback.
And that has to do with his explosion and his focus in preparation. He wants to prove himself, along with running back Steve Slayton, who was turned down by Maryland.
In fact, he had made a verbal agreement to go to Maryland, and then they dropped him. They didn't want Slayton. First down and 17, back at the 9. Slayton gets the call, and nowhere to go. He lost 2 yards on the play. Danny Lansana and Ryan Hennigan for Connecticut make the stop.
This is exactly what Connecticut wants to do. They want to make sure that they stay in their gaps. Now look at all the blue shirts that are lined up and circling Slayton so that there's no gap for him to squirt through.
So they lose 2 yards on the play at 2nd and 19. West Virginia runs the spread offense. We'll talk a lot about that tonight. White with his first carry of the game. No running room for him. He loses a yard on the play. About 8 Connecticut defenders on top of quarterback Patrick White.
Well, West Virginia normally jumps out on everybody. They've done that all season long. Start fast, score quickly, and put a team in the hole. They haven't been able to do that. They're getting backed up here.
You have to go back to the last game of the regular season in 2005 where they did not score on their opening drive. An expected sellout here at Rensselaer Field, and the Husky fans are into it early. White to throw from his end zone. And he's got an open man. Brandon Miles with a first down catch out to the 30-yard line. Pickup of 22 yards as White shows us that he can throw it too.
And he can also show that he can read a defense. Take a look at this. There's only 3 guys for 3 wide receivers. That means it's man coverage. Everybody else is up to stop the run. So White changed the play and hits man coverage for the first down.
So officially a 23-yard pickup. White has an excellent completion percentage. Around 70% of his passes, and he does have more touchdowns than interceptions this year. Makes very good decisions. Here he hands off the Slate, getting to the outside, and then stood up at the 36-yard line by Darius Butler. 6 yards on the pickup for Colson. Now the Connecticut defense is 105th against the run, but 5th against the pass. Been a little bit opposite, at least on this first drive for West Virginia. There are 3 key guys on that Connecticut defense. Ramo Fuller up front, Lansana and Hedigan in the linebacking core.
Well, Fuller's got to create pileups up front, and then the linebackers have to be able to tackle in space.
White lines up under center as they go out of the I on 2nd and 4. 8 in the box for UConn. And White will throw that quick little bubble screen to Darius Raynaud. First down to the 43. Horse collared by Lansana. Another first down for West Virginia. That's the 23rd catch for Raynaud on the year. Lindsey Witten, true freshman for Connecticut, having to start today. His first start as a collegiate, replacing Cody Brown, who led Connecticut in sacks, but is likely done for the year with a broken arm, suffered in practice this week. We mentioned in the open some distractions for Connecticut off the field in the last 10 days. We'll tell you about that more as we go along. First down, West Virginia on its 43. This drive started inside its 20. White gonna keep, and he gets snowed under at the 44. Only 1 yard on the play. Dante Moore made the stop.
You know, Trevor, this spread offense we hear so much about, there are really a couple of key components to it. One is really to get guys into space who are your playmakers, and 2, outnumber guys at the point of attack.
And Rod, if you're a defender, how does this change your approach to this?
Oh, you want to make sure you're not one-on-one tackling out there.
White coming off a Big East record for a quarterback, 247 yards against Syracuse and 4 touchdowns. He got 1 on the last play. He's going to keep it again. And he's going nowhere. Slammed down at the line of scrimmage. Danny Lansana and Dante Moore team up to bring White down. Guys, what's UConn doing well here?
Well, that time they did a nice job of anticipation, and they will bring pressure this side, expecting that this play will be run. They read the formation. When they know that when they have White in that set, he likes to run the ball to the 2 receiver side. And they brought their pressure from that side.
They converted a 3rd down and 19 earlier on this drive. Here they go 3rd and 9. Blitz comes. The pass away to Slate. Bounced off 1 man and then dragged down at the 48-yard line by Ray Blackman. About 6 yards shy of a first down. And West Virginia will likely punt it away. Hennigan came on the blitz. As you look at head coach Randy Edsall and Rich Rodriguez on the other side in his 6th year at the helm at West Virginia, former walk-on for the Mountaineers.
A lot of teams don't like to blitz this spread offense that they run because it makes you vulnerable in space with a lot of room with playmakers.
So for the first time this year, guys, West Virginia does not score on its opening possession. Rugby-style kick by Kozlowski, and it takes a Connecticut hop. The Huskies will start at their 35-yard line. Great start for Connecticut defensively. Let's take a look at their impact players on offense. They have one of the best backfields in the Big East Conference. Deion Anderson, a very good fullback, and Terry Cawley, a veteran at tailback.
And these 2 guys are really the best hope for UConn on defense, even though they play on offense, because if these running backs can get it going, they can control time of possession.
Randy Edsall in his 8th year. Former defensive coordinator at Georgia Tech. He also coached under Tom Coughlin in the NFL in Jacksonville. Done a really good job. This program's only been 1A for 5 years. They went to a bowl game 2 years ago and then won 5 games last year. They go empty, and Bonoslawski, the quarterback, in the shotgun on first down. And his pass incomplete. He tried for Brad Conyu and just missed him. Bonoslawski from Pennsylvania. 3 passing touchdowns in his last 3 games, only 1 pick on the year. He was the opening day starter last year, then got hurt in the game that we did last year against Syracuse. Was not physically ready to start this season, according to head coach Randy Edsall. DJ Hernandez started the year, but Bonoslawski is back as the starting quarterback. Here's the give to the fullback Anderson, and he gets tattooed at the 37-yard line by Boo McLeod. Only a yard and a half on the play. Connecticut is 9th in the country in rushing. We mentioned their solid backfield. They've got young players everywhere else, it seems, including 2 true freshmen at receiver in Conyu and Jeffers, and 3 redshirt freshmen in the offensive line.
Well, they're young, and they've got to find something in the passing game. That young offensive line is going to get tested by this defense that's very aggressive, and the young receivers have to catch some balls, because if they don't do that, that rushing game is going to get shut down.
Mike Hicks, the right tackle, is a redshirt freshman. He's 6'7". Dan Ryan, the left tackle, a redshirt freshman, is 6'8". 3rd and 8, pressure coming. Bonoslawski's pass incomplete through the hands of his tight end, Steve Brous. A catchable ball, even though it was a tad behind him. And Connecticut goes 3 and out on offense.
We saw that pressure that West Virginia brought against that young offensive line, testing them right off the bat. And now West Virginia gets the ball right back. Not a lot of rest for that UConn defense.
Vaughn Rivers, who has a punt return for a touchdown this year, back at his 15. Chris Pavasaris to boot it away. Almost got it blocked. Returnable for Rivers. Past the 30, spins off one man, and then downed at the 35. West Virginia could not score on its first drive. How will the Mountaineers do on their second possession? Find out when Pat White retakes the field. West Virginia looking to stay undefeated, keep its national title hopes alive. 13 days away from its showdown with Louisville. They have a week off after tonight's game against Connecticut. #1 rushing team in the country, but only 8 rushing yards on 6 carries on their first drive. From the 35, White gonna throw it. He's got Raynaud, who makes a man miss. And then a nice open field stop by Tyvon Branch. Estep missed the tackle. Gain of about 6 on the play.
That's one of the things about this spread offense. You start loading the box up to take the run away, and then they throw it on you.
And they did load the box. Take a look at all these guys come up towards the line of scrimmage, and that will leave at the top of the screen only one guy in man coverage. He misses a tackle, and it's over.
And where was he? In space. Had a lot of room.
On 2nd and 4, White gonna keep, and not much running room. Maybe 2. Danny Lansana on the stop. West Virginia's been mentioned tops in the country in rushing offense. Connecticut not very good normally against the run. 177 rushing yards per game.
Well, that tells you that they ought to be able to run against him. Now Connecticut has come out loading the box and showing a lot of blitz, daring West Virginia to throw the ball.
Schmidt gets the call and the first down to midfield. That's another dangerous weapon in this spread offense for West Virginia, Owen Schmidt.
He's a pounder inside. They really use him to soften the linebackers up. He's a great blocker. Look at him here. He's a big guy. He comes in there about 250 pounds, and that's bigger than most of those linebackers that Connecticut's using.
Schmidt, a junior from Fairfax, Virginia. First down in midfield. White in trouble. Breaks tackles and does well to get back to the line of scrimmage. A lot of missed tackles for Connecticut in this game. Danny Lansana missed that time. Dante Moore eventually on the stop.
Watch the pressure that they bring out here to make sure they contain White. They're loading the box up again and taking the outside away, forcing him back inside. They know that if Pat White gets to the perimeter, they have a big problem.
And he hasn't been able to get to the perimeter yet. 18 rushing yards on 9 plays. Pump fake, and White has a wide open Gonzalez. And another missed tackle by Connecticut. Gonzalez to the 25. How about the throwing acumen of Pat White in this first quarter?
Well, they're forcing him to do that, Trevor. They basically said, you're going to load the box, we're going to throw it.
Well, what happens is Darius Butler, number 28, is going to blitz off the right side of the screen. And because of that, that leaves the receiver man coverage with a safety coming from all the way across the field to get there. They're trying to disguise those blitzes, but West Virginia isn't fooled.
As Rich Rodriguez said, Pat White can throw the ball, and they throw it in practice. They just haven't had to throw it in games that much. He's 5 out of 5, 65 yards. A lot of people have been making comparisons to Major Harris, the great quarterback who played in the late 80s at West Virginia. The offenses are very different, but a lot of people say the throwing skills between White and Harris are very similar.
Well, make no mistake about it. Defensive coordinators around the country have been consistently saying the way to attack this team is to get on them early, force him to throw the ball, and force Patrick White to throw the intermediate ball. And so far tonight, he's hit that ball.
Free safety MJ Estep banged up on the play, taken off the field. First down at the Connecticut 25. First time for the Mountaineers in Husky territory. Back to the running attack. And the gap closes at the 20-yard line. Slayton picks up about 5. Dropped by Dana Delliston.
Well, they're running up the middle a lot now because UConn is making sure that they keep the edges covered. They've got guys coming from both sides, and so by running up the middle, they avoid those blitzers.
And then they go out of the eye with Patrick White under center. Mostly we see White in shotgun. Back to throw, and his pass off target. There was a collision at the goal line between Butler and Brandon Miles. Collision in the backfield, too, as Patrick White went down. No penalty flags, though.
Patrick White is not the biggest quarterback around. He's only about 185 pounds, and he takes a big shot from Raymond Fuller there. And, you know, Trevor, I don't think West Virginia is at their best offensively out of the I formation. I think they're better when they go split and spread it out.
Raymond Fuller, senior defensive tackle, 3.5 sacks on the year, and a good hit on Patrick White on that previous play. 3rd and 6, quarterback keeper. Connecticut not full. Down goes White at the 21-yard line. Ryan Hennigan on the stop. So West Virginia will have a 4th down and about 5 and going to have to settle for a field goal try.
Well, Randy Edsall is daring Patrick White to throw the ball. He is committing 8 guys to the running game almost every single play.
And they're very disciplined staying in their gaps. That's why there's not much space inside.
You saw that McAfee's perfect inside 40. This is a 38-yard attempt. And West Virginia is on the board. Does Rich Rodriguez have a battle on his hands? Connecticut's defense looks good early. Mountaineers lead by 3. Downtown Hartford, Connecticut. It's quiet because just about everybody that's rooting for the Huskies is here at Rentschler Field, and a good start for UConn on defense, holding West Virginia to a field goal. Patrick White and Steve Slayton have been dominant offensively this year, have struggled a bit in this opening quarter. McAfee will kick off. Larry Taylor back to receive for Connecticut. Robert McClain also back, and McClain will take it. Past the 25 and to the 27-yard line. Now, we mentioned in the open that Connecticut has been dealing with some off-the-field issues. On October 9th, head coach Randy Edsall dismissed 5 players, all non-starters, for bringing beer, going out and actually purchasing the beer and then bringing it back to the hotel in Tampa the night before a game against South Florida. They played the next day as information was being discovered. And then on Monday, Edsall made the decision to dismiss the players. It was later reported by the Hartford Courant that 4 of the 5 players had previous arrests, although in talking with Edsall yesterday, he said that did not factor into his decision to dismiss those players. As Bonoslawski throws on 1st and 10, incomplete. The names of the 5 players: Harold Standback, Ricky McCollum, Carl Teague, Nalas Dewar, and Todd Dorcelis. Those aren't the only 5 players that Edsel has dismissed. Marvin Taylor was dismissed in September. He was arrested for illegal use of a credit card, and that was not the first incident for Taylor. He was also suspended last year for being involved in a pellet gun incident. A lot of off-the-field issues, but Randy Edsel told us they've actually brought his team closer together. Terry Cawley to the outside, the best offensive play for Connecticut today. About 8 yards for Cawley off the left side. With more on Randy Edsel, let's bring Heather in.
Well, Coach Edsel, definitely known as a disciplinarian. If you're wondering where he adopted those principles before he arrived at UConn, he spent 3 years coaching in the NFL, over 15 in Division I college football, the majority of that with Tom Coughlin. He played for Coughlin at Syracuse, coached with him at Boston College and with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, Edsel said Coughlin, who built his success and reputation on discipline and accountability, has been his role model throughout, teaching him courage of conviction. He said all the principles he used and learned from Coughlin were integral in deciding the course of action for those 5 players that were dismissed, Dave.
All right, on 3rd down and 1, they hand off for Lou Allen, who has the Connecticut first down. Well, guys, we sat in there and talked with Randy Edsel about this yesterday, and you know, our biggest question was, did the previous arrest of the players factor in? And he said no. And we asked him a couple times, and he said no, they did not play a role in the decision.
Well, he was very clear about the fact that he thought the purchase of alcohol and bringing it back to the hotel the night before a game was the one thing you could do that would get you kicked off the team. It crossed the line. The intent to drink beer the night before a game was detrimental to the team, and so he booted them for that reason and that reason alone.
He said that if you do that, that means, quote, your teammates are not important to you and the game is not important to you. Cawley off the right side, and he gets around the edge and picks up another Connecticut first down into West Virginia territory at the 49-yard line. Here's a Randy Edsel's comment in the newspaper on the heels of the dismissal, saying, quote, it was a slap in the face to everything this program stands for, and it was a slap in the face to this university. And those comments were consistent in our meeting with him yesterday.
They were. When you think about it, if you're at the team hotel the night before the game and you're not thinking about the game, you're thinking about a party, you're thinking about willfully breaking team rules and doing it in an organized fashion. If you don't enforce that rule, what rule can you enforce?
First down from the West Virginia 49. Bonoslawski throwing for Cawley. Incomplete. Now, did the punishment fit the crime? That will be the topic tonight in our Friday night debate, so stick around for that.
You know, interestingly enough about things, the players publicly came out afterwards and supported the decision without anyone really taking a contrary position. Publicly, every player said it was the right thing to do, and if those guys weren't committed to the team, they needed to be gone.
And Edsel said, other than media reports, all of the emails, all the phone calls that he has received have been positive in support of his decision. 2nd and 10 of the 49, and a big hole for Donald Brown. Connecticut getting it going on offense now. Quentin Andrews with a tackle downfield. It's another Husky first down. How about UConn against the West Virginia defense, guys? It's 18th in the country against the run and 10th in the nation in scoring defense.
Well, one way to counter a fast defense is to run right at that fast defense. At that point, it's not about speed, it's about smash mouth.
Well, keep in mind, a lot of people look at the West Virginia schedule and they say, well, the numbers are good for this defense, but they haven't been challenged by a really strong running team yet. And certainly Connecticut can run the football when they want to.
They're 9th in the country. They average over 200 rushing yards a game. Play clock winding down. They go with 2 tight ends. Hand off to Donald Brown to the 35-yard line. Another solid carry, 4 yards. Antonio Lewis made the stop.
And the other thing is this defense is a 3-3-5 defense. You got 5 defensive backs, which means you lose a lineman or you lose a linebacker, and those guys aren't as big and they don't take up as much space as those other guys you would have in a 4-3 defense.
But they are disruptive and they can swarm to the ball. And so we've seen Terry Cawley with his speed get to the corner a couple of times, but the bread and butter will be right at these guys.
Another handoff on 2nd and 6 to Brown. Grabbed by Wicks. Great second effort, though, by Brown. He would not go down. Got to the 30, picked up 5 yards. Time now for a SportsCenter 30 at 30 update. We go to Reese Davis in the studio.
Dave, believe it or not, they're going to play a baseball game right in the middle of the Georgia Tech-Clemson game tomorrow night. Anthony Reyes of St. Louis and Justin Verlander will become the first pair of rookies to square off in Game 1 of the World Series between the Cardinals and the Tigers. In the NFL, Jaguar quarterback Byron Leftwich questionable for Sunday's game against the Texans with a sore ankle. Sports Center after the game, and ESPN News always keeps you up to date.
I'm with you, Reese. Shame on those guys that don't play without helmets and pads, that they're going to interrupt that great game tomorrow night. Terry Cawley back into the game. And on third down and short, the little guy, and what seems to be the year of the little running back in college football with Northern Illinois' Garrett Wolf and Rutgers' Ray Rice, gets the first down for Connecticut.
Hey, he's not a little guy. He's a short guy. Okay, he's about 195 pounds, but he's only about 5'7". Watch him get in there behind that big block and launch his body in there.
And that's against, with an offensive line that's 3 freshmen, 1 sophomore, and a guy who moved from defensive line last year. It's a very inexperienced offensive line.
But they got a great fullback in senior Deion Anderson, who opened up that hole. NFL scouts are very interested in Deion Anderson. Here's Larry Taylor, very dangerous in the open field, but he can't get to the open field. There's a penalty flag down as John Holmes chased down Taylor.
It's really difficult to get outside on a defense that's a 3-3-5. And you got 5 defensive backs with good speed.
Face mask against West Virginia. Apparently of the 5-yard variety.
Face mask on the defense. 5-yard penalty from the line of scrimmage. Repeat first down.
Well, this is exactly what Rich Rodriguez does not want to happen against Mississippi State. This year, they won that game, but the defense struggled to get Mississippi State off the field at times. They allowed drives to continue, and that makes this offense less effective because of tempo.
Randy Edsall's UConn Huskies fired up. He told us yesterday his team's closer together after the dismissal of those 5 players. Maybe he's right. Well, everybody's talking about West Virginia's showdown with Louisville on November 2nd, but Mountaineers have some work to do tonight against Connecticut. Everybody talking national title possibly for West Virginia, perhaps an undefeated season. But Connecticut moving the ball against the Mountaineers tonight and stopping West Virginia's potent rushing offense in the opening quarter. And a first down and 5 after the face mask penalty at the 22-yard line. Empty backfield, Bonoslawski the quarterback. And he's going to keep. And he's very close to the marker, maybe a yard shy of the 18-yard line, dragged down by Warren Young.
You know, one of the weaknesses of a 3-3-5 defense is that most teams believe they can run the ball at you. They get bigger. Sometimes they put 2 tight ends in there and they just run it right at you because you got smaller guys out there.
And that's not so easy as it seems because the smaller guys aren't standing in front of the offensive line. They're moving and shifting and coming from different angles, which an inexperienced offensive line will react to by slowing down. This inexperienced offensive line is still going fast.
11th play of the drive. Connecticut trying to keep West Virginia's offense on the sideline. On 2nd and 1, Cawley. That's the second time he's got to the outside tonight. He told us he can run. Eric Wicks missed the tackle, and it appears to be another Connecticut first down.
Cawley was not supposed to get to the corner that time, but watch him turn on the jets as he gets to the edge, and he picks up the first down. This is a guy who can run about a 4.3 40, and that's after knee surgery. And the advantage of this against West Virginia's defense is that it forces them to stay spread out sideline to sideline. If they only ran up the middle, they could collapse inside.
You mentioned, Rod, knee injury cost him almost 2 years. He was leading the nation in rushing back in 2003 as a sophomore when he hurt that knee. First down to the 14-yard line of West Virginia. Little option, and Bonoslawski throws it away. Konyu was the intended receiver.
Well, that injury was against Virginia Tech. It was a non-contact injury. Cawley was just running, and pretty much everything in his knee blew out. Now, you look at his career ranks at the University of Connecticut. This is primarily after he came back. He missed 22 months. But when he did come back, it was against really any medical expectation that he could because of the extent of the damage.
And he has a very interesting hobby, which we'll tell you about later. Last year, Cauley held to 20 yards by West Virginia. All of Connecticut's yards on this drive have come on the ground. Cauley up the middle. Grabbed to the ankles by Boo McClure. 3 yards on the pickup.
And DP, you mentioned Connecticut running on the ground. Well, that last pass we saw sailed out of bounds. The wind is tremendously strong. From up here looking at the flags, the wind is blowing directly in the face of the quarterback. And it's hard for him to really get the ball where he needs to.
He hasn't thrown many low. Most of his misses have been up high. And when you do that to the sideline, it'll sail out of bounds. You better not miss high up the middle.
You see those flags? That wind is coming pretty good.
Empty backfield, 3rd down and 8. Shotgun for Bronislawski. Late blitz coming. Pass into the end zone. And it's incomplete. Nearly intercepted by Eric Wicks. Quinn Andrews was also there for West Virginia. Bronislawski almost cost his team 3 points.
Well, he's a senior, but he's a guy that hasn't played quarterback a lot. He only played 1 year as a starter in high school, has been hurt most of his time here. As you see him take a shot to the head there.
Now, Connecticut has had all kinds of trouble on field goal attempts. And they're going with a new kicker tonight, Tony Chiravino, his first career field goal attempt. Connecticut is 3 of 9 as a team this year. 29-yard try for Chiravino. And he nails it. Connecticut not only is on the board, we got a tie game early in the 2nd quarter in Hartford. Tony Chiravino, who all he did was kick a couple of onside kicks in his career a couple of years ago, hasn't kicked since 2004. It's a great hold.
Yeah, watch Bronislawski there. He gets that ball down with a bad snap. Doesn't get the laces turned, but it works anyway.
But notice where he is. He's about 1.5 feet inside the hash, even though the ball's on the hash. The reason for that is that last year, these kickers freaked out whenever they were on the hash. They had a mental block. So they started to move the ball a foot inside the hash, even when the ball was outside on the hash, so that mentally the kickers wouldn't have to think, oh my gosh, I can't kick it. It's on the hash. But that makes it harder for the snapper, Rod.
How do you figure that one out? Like, Coach, I have a hash phobia here. Move the ball for me?
It's in a book somewhere. They're shifting where they place it.
Darius Raynaud awaiting the kick from Matt Nuzzi. He's going to kick it away from Raynaud. Little pooch kick. And it's going to be fair caught at the 35-yard line. Contact after the fair catch, and that's a penalty on Connecticut. Can't do that. Abraham Jones with the fair catch at the 34-yard line for West Virginia. On a fair catch, you cannot contact the return man.
After the play was over, personal foul on the kicking team. 15-yard penalty for the end of the play. First down.
And that's what you don't need if you're Connecticut after you've stolen momentum away from West Virginia.
And that's because their defense has been pretty good. They've brought pressure. They've loaded up the box. 7 guys, 8 guys taking away the perimeter.
Inside, they're filling the gap, so there's no place to run. Take a look at the blue jerseys, all surrounding the ball carrier. There's nowhere to go.
West Virginia with its 3rd offensive series of the game. 0 for 2 in terms of touchdowns for them. That's rare. White pitches to Slayton, and he's got the corner. 2 more missed tackles. Slayton eventually down at the 41-yard line. Gain of about 8 on the pickup. Let's go to Heather for more on this Connecticut defense.
Well, we talked to defensive coordinator Hank Hughes, who said, you know what, we can't trick teams. We've got to execute. We're not going to slow them down. It's not going to be magic. It will be execution. We can't outplay you physically, so we want to out-scheme them. Always have them trapped to leverage, trap them inside and outside so they're never one-on-one. They also think that the corners need to be involved in the run game. Do you guys think that they're doing that so far?
Well, yeah, they have been, Heather, except on that last play. Their corner on the left side got caught up inside, and Slayton was able to get outside and beat a guy one-on-one.
Well, Rod, when you stack the box, it means the corners have to cover one-on-one. If they're also asked to be involved in the run game, what kind of stress does that put on?
Well, you're in a double bind. I mean, you really have a hard time playing off of the run when you've got to playing off the pass when you have to read the run first as much as they are now tonight.
They measure, and he comes up a little bit short, so it'll be 2nd down and inches.
You know, we were talking about defensive principles before the game, guys, and you always want to try to get 2 guys into an area to make a tackle. You don't want to design your defense to have one-on-one tackling, because good backs will always beat one-on-one tackling.
Connecticut has struggled this year stopping the run, but has been very good defending the pass, but the opposite has been true tonight. West Virginia's only been able to move the ball through the air. They're going to go out of the eye here and put White under center on 2nd down and inches. We've seen this a lot tonight. Owen Schmidt, a powerful fullback, is the up man, and he gets the carry to the 39-yard line for about 3 yards. Reese Davis talked about this game between Georgia Tech and Clemson tomorrow night on ESPN at 7:45 Eastern. Perhaps the 2 best teams in the ACC, guys. Clemson, number 1 in the NCAA in scoring, averaging 44 points per game. You want to see exciting offense, check that game out, not just for Clemson. Calvin Johnson, wide receiver for Georgia Tech, 5 touchdowns in the last 3 games.
I tell you, he's a special player, but that Georgia Tech defense, oof, they're aggressive.
Did a great job on Notre Dame earlier this year, and they shut down the number 1 scoring offense in college football. Connecticut done a pretty good job against the number 3 scoring offense in college football, as West Virginia has just 3 points. Slayton on the carry gets to the 34 for 3 yards, tackled by Ryan Hennigan. You talked about it earlier. Slayton and White both playing with a chip on their shoulder, in the sense that they want to prove to other teams that they were wrong in not recruiting them.
Look at Pat White at the top of the screen. There was a defender right there, Dante Moore, looking at him to make sure he handed that ball off. And he might have a chip on his shoulder, but he's got a linebacker in his grill right now.
Rich Rodriguez told us these are both great kids. They're all about team. You tell them, hey, we want you here at this time to do this, and they are there, and they're great leaders. White going to the air, throws another strike, caught inside the 20-yard line by Rashawn Bolden. White looks terrific throwing the football tonight.
Well, Raj, you talked about how Connecticut is stacking the box, putting a linebacker on White, whether he's got the ball or not, and forcing him, daring him to throw.
Well, watch that relationship out there. You've got man coverage, and that's tough out there when you have a lot of room. You can't pin the guy into the sideline, and White is moving that way and finds the lane to him.
White is 6 out of 7, 83 yards passing. Back to the shotgun. Ball on the Connecticut 17. Slayton. No running room. Taken down at the 22-yard line for a 5-yard loss by Dan Davis.
And Dan Davis played that play as well as you can play it. And he just does not give up that outside leverage. He forces everything inside on that play.
Now take a look at the defense shift, and now they're coming off this side, and that allows them to get extra guys to the point of attack.
So 2nd down and 15 at the 22. White on play action, going to the end zone for Slayton. Incomplete. Good coverage by safety Dana Delliston on Steve Slayton. It'll be 3rd and 15.
Well, the one thing that's really impressive about this defense is everyone is playing as a team. They are doing their own responsibilities. No one's trying to help somebody else out. That's how mistakes happen. They're playing their role.
Well, they didn't do that against Navy, and Navy lit them up with their option. But this is the kind of discipline that Randy Edsall wants, and this is kind of one of the reasons why he dismissed those 5 players for a lack of discipline.
West Virginia 6-0 for the first time in 10 years, trying to keep its Big East and national title hopes alive. White going to the air again. There's contact downfield, but no flag down. The pass incomplete.
And this is the challenge that Patrick White will face. When teams are able to load the box, they are daring him to complete the intermediate pass. This one here. This is the pass that has to be completed. Now, there was some grabbing down there and holding, and he wants to get a penalty on Butler, but it wasn't called.
Yeah, it looked like Butler did impede the progress of the receiver with his left hand.
Grabbed him a little bit.
Brandon Miles was the intended receiver. Here's McAfee from 39 yards, already made a 38-yard try. And he is good once again. So 3 more points for West Virginia, but Rich Rodriguez wants a lot more than that. Hartford, Connecticut, as it hasn't impacted West Virginia's passing game. The Mountaineers just can't get anything going on the ground. They do lead, but it's only a 3-point edge. A lot of people thought the game might be over at this stage of the game, especially with West Virginia being the number 3 scoring team in college football. McAfee, 38 and 39-yard field goals for West Virginia. And Connecticut, on its last drive, got inside the 20-yard line before it had to settle for a field goal. And Connecticut will let this kick sail out of the end zone. Well, guys, I know we're all surprised by what we're seeing here. Why?
Well, it's really not that complicated. I mean, Connecticut's defense has really been very good about bringing pressure, bringing it off the perimeter, not giving up any big plays, and they've gotten away with the pass coverage so far. They haven't been hurt.
Yeah, they haven't, and it's the pass that they're allowing West Virginia to have. They're stopping the run or limiting it by filling the gaps inside, but bringing extra guys that should be in pass coverage off the edges, so West Virginia can't use that speed on the outside.
This is the best job that any team has done against West Virginia this year, and the best that anybody's done maybe in the last year and a half against the Mountaineers. Rich Rodriguez, the head coach for West Virginia, has had this thing going now for a couple of years. Connecticut takes over on its 20-yard line. Pauley gets hit in the backfield once and not getting away a second time. Mark Magro will get credited with a tackle on Cauley. Big loss on first down for Connecticut.
Now, Connecticut's still going into the wind. I'm sure that makes them a little bit reluctant to throw the ball, particularly backed up, in the shadows of their own goalpost.
Connecticut 3-3 on the year. The wins for the Huskies against Indiana, Army, and Rhode Island. Not exactly juggernauts, but they are hanging in there tonight against West Virginia. Mountaineers showing blitz on a 2nd and 14 play. Bonoslawski got the pass away, but it's dropped by Anderson to the 20-yard line. That would have been positive yardage, but Anderson dropped it. Jay Henry came and got in the face of Bonoslawski.
Well, you can see that they're conceding the deep pass to the wind. They're trying to just nickel and dime it down here because the wind is so strong. On this 3rd and 13 or 14 that they have here, it's going to be hard for them to get the ball down the field.
It will, and we saw Bonoslawski miss again high. If he keeps doing that, it's going to turn into a big turnover at some point.
Blank for Bonoslawski in the passing category. 0 for 7 so far. And the throwing situation here on 3rd down and 14. And again, West Virginia coming with pressure. A little shovel pass. And into the secondary is Cauley. And he gets wrapped up about 5 yards shy of the first down at the 25-yard line. So that first down loss of about 4 yards really hurt Connecticut on that drive. 2nd 3 and out by West Virginia's defense. Connecticut will punt.
This figures into West Virginia's offensive game plan. They want 3 and out and get that offense on the field. West Virginia's offense goes no huddle in 3 tempos: fast, faster, and ludicrous fast. And they want to keep them out there so they can wear down the defense.
Because you'd have to think it's only a matter of time for West Virginia's offense. Pavasaris' kick gets hung up in the wind. Fair caught by Vaughn Rivers at the 41-yard line. And there is a penalty flag down. It's going to be against Connecticut. We'll see if West Virginia wants them to kick it again into the wind. It was a 34-yard punt by Pavasaris.
Well, I don't know how good of an idea it would be to have him kick it again, because
holding number 22 on the offense. 10-yard penalty from the line of scrimmage. Repeat, 4th down.
that was a short punt anyway, but in the wind, the ball won't carry, but it also moves around and makes it more likely for the punt returner to muff it.
Don't forget, too, West Virginia has a propensity to block kicks. And if you give them enough chances, they've gotten close now twice. And it's a little bit more dangerous when you're down here right along your goal line.
Yeah, and that penalty backed them up 10 yards. And so this is a tougher kick for them now, and greater field position expectedly for West Virginia.
And they're missing a guy.
Yeah, they're short a guy.
Only 10 players on the field. That was Deion Anderson who rushed out there at the last moment. Here come the Mountaineers, and they almost got it. And a bad kick. But it takes a couple of Connecticut hops. Still, West Virginia gets about 14 yards out of it. And we'll start inside Connecticut territory. Patrick White at it again. UConn men's basketball head coach Jim Calhoun very supportive of the Husky football team in attendance here at Rentschler Field tonight. How will the Husky men's basketball team bounce back from losing so many players to the NBA? How will the West Virginia offense bounce back against UConn's defense, which has held them to 2 field goals so far in the game? Slayton will make that White on the fake, and White is gone inside the 20. Touchdown West Virginia on its first play of this drive. And a great ball fake by Patrick White.
It happens so quickly. And prior to that play, the longest play on the ground was a 9-yard run. And this time, they get it going. A fake here and a good block on the outside by number 2, Darius Renaud. And Patrick White cuts it back up inside.
45-yard touchdown run. White had touchdown runs of 32, 40, 69, and 12 yards against Syracuse last week. Extra point good. 9th rushing score for White this year. And that looked like Rich Rodriguez's Mountaineer offense.
Well, that time they didn't fill the lanes. Patrick White is going to come toward the bottom of the screen down over here. Now, take a look at where all the blue jerseys are. There should be one right in there, but there isn't. And he notices that and squirts up through. That's the discipline assignment football that they need to play. And that was their first mistake so far this game, and White made them pay.
And you also saw the defensive end chase Slayton. And Patrick White just ran right by his hip. He was still looking at the running back, Steve Slayton, thinking he had the ball.
Well, the thing is, when you get in space, you got a big area to cover. You're in a mismatch with Patrick White. And you can't cover him. You can't tackle him when he can go left or right. And now you're a big defensive end or a linebacker and trying to contain him.
Such an incredible athlete, Patrick White, guys. He was drafted by the Anaheim Angels in 2004 in the 4th round as a center fielder. And he got offered between $300,000 and $400,000. Turned it down to play college football. And the Angels said after that, man, we would have offered him more money if we would have known he was that serious about football. They wanted him to play baseball for them that badly.
Well, and a number of SEC teams, Tennessee, Auburn, Alabama, they wanted him as a wide receiver or defensive back.
Originally committed to LSU and then decommitted to play at West Virginia as that kick sails out of bounds and Connecticut starts at the 20. For more on Patrick White, we go down to Heather.
Well, there's always that inherent risk of an injury when you put the ball in the hands of your quarterback and ask him to run like a running back. I asked Coach Rodriguez about it, and he said, every time Patrick White carries the ball, I have to hold my breath. So today I actually talked to another quarterback to get his perspective on just how much there is a risk outside of the pocket. I talked to Hall of Famer Steve Young, who said, I felt safer outside of the pocket because it was a more controlled environment. I could see who was coming in the pocket. You have your back turned a lot, so you don't know what's behind you. He then added, hey, I made my living in the pocket, but I always felt safer outside of it. So, guys, 2 lefty quarterbacks that know a thing or two about making people miss.
I don't know, Heather. I think Steve forgot about some of those concussions he got outside the pocket.
Play fake by Bonoslawski. He just gets hammered. But he completes his first pass of the game out to the 25-yard line. Caught by Dan Murray. Taken out by John Holmes.
Well, White's just a sophomore. A lot of people project him as a receiver in the NFL, but I think he's got a good shot to play quarterback in the NFL, especially now with Vince Young joining Mike Vick in the NFL and plays being called that they ran so successfully in college. Some of the spread option that we're so good about.
Calm down. Let's let him be a college quarterback for a while. He doesn't have to get to the NFL yet. Let him play.
No, I want to see what he's going to do in the NFL.
He is just a sophomore. On 2nd and 2, Cauley looking for a hole. It's not there. Wrapped up and thrown to the floor, and the ball's out at the 27-yard line. Mark Magro on the tackle. West Virginia's ball. Holmes came out of there with it. Let's see, though, if they rule that Connecticut. Nope, it is West Virginia football. They're going to rule that Cauley was not down. Forward progress was not stopped. And the Mountaineers take over inside the 30.
But this isn't even a reviewable play. I mean, if there was no whistle and the ball came out, it's just a West Virginia ball.
No, he's not down because he is on the defender. His knees never touch the ground. Now take a look. His rear end is on the defender.
And it looked like his left leg was down.
You know, whether his knee touches the ground or not, I've always felt that when you're on somebody like that, you're in a vulnerable position. you're defenseless. And the play ought to be blown dead at that point.
Well, they're going to review it. West Virginia trying to get out there to snap it quickly.
On the prior play is under review.
Now, if the whistle did not blow, and you can review it, obviously he was not ruled down. They're saying Edsel arguing he was down. He was down, forward progress was stopped, and then the ball came out.
And he's running with the ball. He gets tackled. He happens to be tackled on top of someone. He is defenseless, and then the ball pops out. Now look at that. He's down. His leg is down. Someone falls on his leg. He can't go anywhere. There's nothing he can do. He is on top of someone, but his left calf clearly touched the ground as he's being tackled. Look at this.
Well, that's what they'll look for, Rod. If that left calf did touch the ground before the ball came out. Wow. His left calf is still attached to his leg with that.
Yeah. Now he's holding on to the ball there, so it appears that his left leg touched the ground. Now, guys, this is huge for Connecticut. If they give up the ball here, and West Virginia, what it did on that last drive, it leads you to believe they're going to score another touchdown. You're down 10. Yeah. And they need this to be overruled. And it's hard to tell. Would you guys say that that's indisputable video evidence? Because that's what we need to overturn it.
Well, it's indisputable to me that he was down because of that. I mean, he was in the control of the defense.
But he wasn't all the way down. And if they say that the ball came out before that calf hit the ground, then even though he was in control of the defense, even though he was defenseless, he still was in the process of being tackled.
Then that's a bad rule. I mean, if you have a guy who's in control and can be hurt and defenseless, and you still allow the play to continue, that's a bad rule.
Yeah, the rule is hand or foot. Or if you're on top of a player, if your whole body's on top of a player, you're not down. Any other part of your body touches the ground, you're down.
That's why the calf here is important.
Well, we haven't had a lot of challenges this year, guys, in part because coaches don't want to take the risk of losing a timeout. And there's only about a 20% chance based on statistics that those plays would get overturned. And only about 1 out of 6 get overturned anyway when the review comes from the booth.
Well, in the NFL, there's a coach dedicated to the booth looking at a monitor to tell the head coach whether or not to challenge. In college, they don't have that advantage. And so they have to listen to the player, but the player's always going to lie. Yeah, I made the catch. You know, I didn't fumble it.
Well, he doesn't know he's lying. He's telling, you thought he was okay.
Dennis Hennigan, the referee.
After review, there's indisputable video evidence that the runner was down before the ball came loose. There is no fumble on the play. It will be Connecticut's ball, second down.
That's enormous for the Huskies right now after that last West Virginia drive. If you call it that, it was a one-play 45-yard drive.
Well, absolutely enormous. West Virginia makes its money putting up huge amounts of points in short periods of time. Georgia, in the first 16 minutes of the Sugar Bowl, was down 28-0 before they broke a sweat. So this allows Connecticut to avoid that, at least at this point.
At some point, do you think Connecticut's going to have to get it going through the air to beat West Virginia tonight, guys?
Absolutely. We talked about that at the beginning of the show, that they have to find a way for the young receivers to catch the ball and for that young offensive line to give Bronislawski some time.
They have a pair of 2 freshman wideouts in Terrence Jeffers, Brad Conyu. 5 freshmen in all in the starting lineup for Connecticut. So 3rd down and 2 at the UConn 28. Play fake. Bronislawski hit as he releases it, and a diving grab by Murray for a first down. Boy, is Connecticut glad to have Murray back. He's played sparingly this year due to an ankle injury. Their best receiver.
Well, Bronislawski stands in. He knows this linebacker's coming at him. Keep in mind, Bronislawski broke his collarbone last year and aggravated that injury later. And for him to stand in with a linebacker right in his face, take a shot on that collarbone, great courage.
That keeps West Virginia's offense on the sideline. There's down to the Connecticut 34, another play fake. And the pass on the money to Conyu, pulls it in for another UConn first down.
And that was his best throw of the night. And that ball was thrown low and outside where only Conyu could get it.
Seventh catch of the year for true freshman Brad Conyu is from Johnstown, Pennsylvania, which is not very far from Morgantown, West Virginia.
Well, that should help his confidence, and the more balls he catches, the better he'll be. He's a sprint champ. He's a fast guy. They need to find a way to get him in position, to make some big plays.
After an 0-for-7 start, Bonaslawski's completed his last 4. They go back to the ground game. Terry Cauley on the call. And Warren Young brings him down after a gain of about 3 at the 49.
Trevor, one of the best things about what Connecticut is doing is it's keeping Patrick White on the bench.
They don't allow that tempo to wear down the Connecticut defense. So much an important part of the way that the West Virginia defense interfaces with the offense. When the offense does well, the defense gets a 3 and out, and then all of a sudden they're on roller skates.
And if Connecticut can keep the drive going, take time off the clock, and get more points, it would start the third quarter with the football. They won the toss and elected to defer to the second half. Bonaslawski sacked. Back at the 40-yard line by Eric Wicks. Loss of 9 on the play.
And you always have to know where that 4th and 5th rusher will come from. Wicks is the guy who comes off the bottom. He's athletic enough to beat the tackle. He doesn't even get touched by Ryan. He simply uses a move to get by him. That's why you have that 5th defensive back. You use that athleticism to make your plays.
West Virginia didn't have a single sack in the first month of the season, but they chased a lot of quarterbacks around. You can see that the first 4 games, none. But they were close a lot, and they had a lot of hurries. In the last 2 games, they've been able to close and get there.
3rd sack of the year for Wicks. 3rd down and 15. Bonaslawski looking to set up the screen. Cauley breaks 1 tackle and another. And out of bounds at the 49-yard line. He's going to be about 5 yards shy of a first down. If you're Connecticut, do you take a risk and go for it here, or do you just boot it away? It appears they're going to punt.
Yeah, I think that's a smart thing to do. You need to boot it away here. You really don't want to take a chance and give full momentum to West Virginia, at midfield. Now you have a chance to kick the ball inside the 15-yard line and back them up and maybe get the ball back.
This is a time for one of those rugby punts, though. Don't get it up into that wind.
Avasaris to boot it away. West Virginia's been close to blocking it. Not that time. Rivers past the 25 and stood up at about the 27-yard line. Lou Allen led the charge for Connecticut on special teams. And potent West Virginia offense back on the field when we come back. Mickey Barber says that he's going to retire after the season. How about some Giant fans in attendance watching the Huskies here tonight?
I thought he qualified it a little bit. Maybe. He hadn't quite committed to it. Might come back maybe. Huh? Don't know.
Leaving a lot of money on the table. About $8 million if he decides to quit. And perhaps a shot at the Hall of Fame if he decides to quit. Here's a pitch out to Slayton. Connecticut slams him at the 25-yard line. Tyvon Branch and Dan Davis track him down.
Well, Branch is the corner. Remember, Heather talked about it earlier about the corners getting involved in the run game. That's exactly what happened this time. You had Branch coming off the corner hard once he read the run and turned the play in.
Loss of 1 on the play. A lot of negative rushing plays for West Virginia so far in the game. 2nd and 11. And White to the air. He's had a lot of success throwing the ball. Finds Slayton out of the backfield past the 30. And Slayton up around the 34. Wrapped up by Danny Lansana. That's a 9-yard pickup. 3rd down and short. And another injured Connecticut player.
Well, I like this play call because it allows White to throw, but it doesn't force him to throw into coverage. He looked downfield. There was man coverage. It was tight, and he was able, because of the flare out by Slayton, to have a safe pass for positive yards.
Danny Lansana, the injured Connecticut player. The Huskies have already lost MJ Estep for the remainder of the half with a head injury. And Cody Brown, a starting defensive end, broke his arm in practice this week. He is likely done for the season. You tack that on to the 5 backups who were dismissed by Randy Edsall on October 9th for going out of a hotel in Tampa, purchasing beer, bringing it back to their hotel the night before a game against South Florida. And Randy Edsall just does not have a lot of bodies.
Yeah, that depth issue means that you're going to have frontline guys playing more plays perhaps than they're accustomed to playing, and then you're also going to put on the field guys who haven't played a lot this year, and that's when you start having mistakes.
Coming up in the second half, we'll debate that decision by Edsall to dismiss those 5 players for what he says was simply that one violation. The fact that 4 out of the other 5 players, as we look at the comments from Lansana and Rama Fuller on the player dismissals, both saying that they are fine with the fact that they were dismissed from the team. Pat White picks up the first down on 3rd down and short. Dante Moore on the tackle out of the 41. Lansana said that they got rid of the cancer. Fuller said that he doesn't want them around if they don't want to be around. And when we talked with Randy Edsall yesterday, he said, hey, these guys didn't care about their teammates. They didn't care about the game. And so he felt that that was grounds for dismissal from the football team, even though 4 out of those 5 kids had previous arrests. Said that that did not factor into his decision. And again, we will debate that in the second half, whether his decision was too harsh, whether that punishment fit the crime. As White takes off to the 45, got 5 of the play. Lansana out on that play. Dan Davis on the tackle. Lansana wants to get back in there.
Randy Edsall is still in the beginning stages of building this program. Keep in mind that Connecticut started their first full 1A season in 2002, and so Edsall still is saying, I want to build this team on discipline and reliability. One of the reasons he got rid of those 5.
Hand off to Slayton, and another loss. Another negative rushing play. Dana Delliston makes the play in the backfield, and a key 3rd down coming up.
Well, once again, you're getting penetration, Trevor, from the secondary. Look at that great play by Delliston coming in, taking on a block, and turning the play in and making the tackle. The secondary players have been very effective against the run game.
7 running plays for 0 or negative yards by West Virginia's offense. When's the last time that's happened? 3rd down and 6, and White picks up the first down with another nice toss. Caught by Reynaud to the 45-yard line of Connecticut. Let's go back to the studio. Reese Davis is going to tell us what's coming up at the half.
Dave, Mark May, and Lou Holtz will join me. We'll talk about the underappreciated side of the West Virginia team and how they put it to good use in the first half. We'll also give you the dream BCS matchups and also a unique look at Saturday's Texas and Nebraska game. Wait till you see who we have reporting.
All right, Reese, how about the underappreciated passing ability of White? He goes back to the ground and gets inside the 20 into the 15. We know about his running skills, but his passing accuracy has been the subject of discussion tonight.
Well, you know, the spread offense allows him to get in space, and when he's in space, he can make plays. Take a look at what happens out here. He's going to get out there to the edge, and you're going to ask a guy in one-on-one situation to make a tackle right there. Patrick White just runs around him because he's got the room to do it.
Great block by Darius Reynaud downfield to spring White for 30 yards. 88 rushing yards tonight. He's just 4 yards away from tying Donovan McNabb for second all-time in Big East for quarterbacks. And he may have gotten it on that play to the 10-yard line. Tackled by Robert Vaughn.
Timeout, West Virginia. That is their first timeout of the half.
You know, guys, it's amazing. This is only the 12th start for Patrick White, and he's already matched Donovan McNabb for rushing yards for a quarterback in the Big East. That's impressive.
42 seconds.
2 timeouts remaining for the Mountaineers. They lead by 10, looking to score again. White to throw on 2nd down and 5. Instead he tucks. Beautiful move at the 5 to pick up the first down and get to the 4. Dan Davis on the tackle. West Virginia still has a pair of timeouts left. The clock will stop for the moment to get rid of the chains and reset the ball.
Well, he wanted to throw it, but had to tuck it down, and does pick up the first down.
West Virginia.
And, you know, guys,
their second timeout of the half.
West Virginia needs this score. They have to put up points. You know, Heather mentioned at the top of the show, style points. There are a lot of people who have not seen West Virginia play an awful lot, and they compare West Virginia to SEC teams, Florida, Auburn, Tennessee, and they're not going to be impressed with 13 points in the first half.
Yeah, guys, a lot of people wondering if West Virginia or Louisville goes undefeated, and let's say that USC loses, so you have Michigan or Ohio State undefeated. Would Louisville or West Virginia be the second team in the BCS title game, or would a one-loss SEC team jump them?
I think a lot of people are looking at West Virginia to make that comparison and looking at what the schedules will be the rest of the way to determine who's going to have one loss and who might be undefeated. You look at Auburn's schedule the rest of the way, and you see at the end they have Georgia and Alabama. Those are obviously going to be tough games for them. West Virginia, they only have conference tough games. Look, the big game with Louisville, the Pittsburgh game, and maybe with Rutgers at the end there. In Florida, that's a very difficult schedule.
But from a computer standpoint in the BCS, West Virginia's high-ranked computer games are coming up in the rest of the season. They haven't played any yet this year, so they still have a lot to gain in the computers.
The past opponent's strength of schedule, not very good at all for West Virginia. It does get better, as you guys talked about, obviously, with conference games. White keeps on first down and goal, trying to power into the end zone, and he is stood up at the 1. Rama Fuller along with Vaughn on the tackle for UConn.
Timeout, West Virginia. That is the last timeout of the half.
Fuller goes flying up in there, takes on the block of the fullback, Owen Schmidt, and that's a very difficult thing to do, and makes the tackle.
But now you're Rich Rodriguez. You have to decide if you're going to kick a field goal or go for it here with 23 seconds. You have no timeouts left. I'm betting he will go for it here because he's inside the 1-yard line and figures he can pick up the touchdown.
Well, you guys talked about some of those future opponents for West Virginia, the Big East. The conference much better in 2006, and there's a big game tomorrow on ESPN2 at 5:45 Eastern Time. Ray Rice and the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, ranked 19th. They're 16th in the BCS standings. They will take on a Pittsburgh team that's lost one game. And Tyler Palko is playing fabulous football for Pittsburgh. He leads the nation in passing efficiency.
Well, I think that's one reason that Rutgers quarterback Mike Teal has some pressure on him. He's got to in some way match what Palko does, even though Ray Rice and Brian Leonard have the advantage over Stevens Howling and the Pitt running game.
Connecticut's going to call time.
Timeout, Connecticut. That is their first timeout of the half.
Well, who do you like in that game?
That's a tough one. But I like the way that Tyler Palko has been playing at quarterback, and I think that gives Pitt an edge over Rutgers. What about you?
I agree with you, but I'll tell you this. Rutgers is legitimate as a top 25 team, and I think Pitt, even though they're not ranked right now, is also legitimately deserving of a national ranking. They are solid on both sides of the ball.
Well, we got a glimpse of Rutgers earlier this season against South Florida, an improved team in the Big East. And the Big East established itself with a great non-conference record, 32-8. That's the best they've ever been. They've got 3 undefeated teams. There are only 7 left in college football, and already 4 bowl-eligible teams. And it seems like the bottom of the Big East is getting better. Syracuse is improving in that conference as well.
Well, the best thing that happened for the Big East was West Virginia beating Georgia in the Sugar Bowl at the end of last season. That really gave the conference a boost.
Second down and goal for West Virginia. They are going to go for it. They are out of timeouts. White hands for Schmidt. Easy touchdown for West Virginia. Huge hole off the left side, and the Mountaineers score again.
Well, when you're trying to pick up less than a yard, you have a 250-pound fullback, might be a good idea to give him the ball and let him get in there. I mean, you see a double-team block at the point of attack, and he goes right behind it.
And nothing fancy here. No pulling, no trapping. The offensive line going straight forward, and the big fullback bulldozing behind him.
Brad Palmer, a tight end, the up man, started at fullback against Connecticut last year with the block. And it gives Rich Rodriguez another touchdown. It's 20-3 Mountaineers. I guess Rich Rodriguez has really done an excellent job with this West Virginia football team. And, he coached that spread offense at Clemson with Woody Dantzler, Tulane with Sean King. And Rasheed Marshall did a great job running that spread offense at West Virginia. And we've seen Patrick White do it tonight already 100 yards plus, both rushing and passing.
You know, that spread offense was pretty good with the guys like Sean King, where he was the offensive coordinator at Tulane, and pretty good with Woody Dantzler. But he didn't have anybody quite as fast as Patrick White. I mean, Dantzler was outstanding, but nobody with the flat-out speed that Patrick White has. And all this began back at Glenville State, and the spread was a passing offense, and he didn't really get into the running game of it until later on.
Well, that's what I like about it. He isn't wedded to the system. The spread at Tulane with Sean King was mostly a passing spread. And when he got here to West Virginia, the players that he had lent themselves to the spread with this style of running, and now he's recruited to it specifically, and those players are even better.
And Rodriguez upset a lot of people when he took the job at West Virginia. Got rid of most of the coaches on Don Nehlen's staff, and the biggest reason was because he didn't want to have to teach coaches that were on that staff how to run the spread offense. He wanted guys that knew how to do it. He went 3-8 his first year. There were a lot of growing pains, but people love Rich Rodriguez now. They liked him as a player, former walk-on, but he disrupted what a lot of people felt was continuity there because Don Nehlen had been there for so long.
Everybody thought things would continue the same way, but he not only changed the offense, he changed the defense. He was changing the culture, and there was friction early on. Don Nehlen said, you know, the cupboard wasn't bare. We probably shouldn't be 3-8.
And you talk about changing the culture, Rod. That we're seeing that now, and the culture of West Virginia now, as you can't argue with it.
Patrick White, dynamic in that first half. He had the big touchdown run of 45 yards on that drive that started in Connecticut territory. Let's go down to Heather Cox.
Coach, Connecticut's defense seemed to stop you early. What adjustments did you make to get your offense going late?
Well, they're doing a great job of keying on Stevie and doing a really good job tackling. We got to do the quarterback runs a little bit, and we got to get Big Owen Schmidt running a little bit. And our guys they're feeling okay, and they're a good football team we're playing against and playing very hard.
All right, best of luck, Coach. Already 7 negative runs, guys, by West Virginia.
Yeah, Connecticut did a decent job, but not good enough as West Virginia leads by 17 at the half. The Mountaineers scoring on 4 of their 5 possessions. Back to the studio now, and Reese Davis. ESPN Primetime College Football is broadcast in high definition, presented by Pioneer Plasma. Back in Hartford, Connecticut at Rentschler Field, West Virginia leads UConn 20-3 as we get ready to start the third quarter. Let's take a look at our game track. Pat White has thrown and passed, or thrown and run for over 100 yards each.
Oh, he was big in the first half of this ball game. 8 for 11 when he had to throw it, but he was really deadly when he was running with the football. And he had a couple of big plays, including this touchdown run right here that got him going.
And he's needed to, because Steve Slayton has been shut down. He's averaging less than 2 yards per carry. White has picked up the slack, running and throwing.
Only 15 rushing yards on 9 carries for Slayton. But Patrick White, now number 2 all-time among Big East quarterbacks in rushing, and this is only the 12th career start for White. He is 11-0. And what's at stake here, guys, for West Virginia? Trying to stay undefeated. A matchup with Louisville 13 days from tonight. Thursday night game on ESPN at Louisville. And if one of those 2 teams can go undefeated, they will have a chance, depending on what happens in the SEC, to play for a national title. Of course, a lot of games left. USC has some tough games on the schedule, and a showdown between Ohio State and Michigan at the end of the regular season. McAfee kicking it away to Taylor and McClain. And McClain will take a knee, and Connecticut will start at the 20. Well, guys, this game was 3-3, and then West Virginia scored 17 unanswered. How and why did it change?
Well, a couple of big plays by Pat White really got it going for West Virginia, but for the most part, the Connecticut defense bottled up everything that West Virginia wanted to do on the ground.
Yeah, they really did, and that's what they figured. They can't stop everything, so let's stop Steve Slayton. They have. Pat White has picked up the slack.
And that's the thing about West Virginia. You stop one guy, you still have to worry about the other guy, and it's tough to shut down both guys. Nobody's been able to do that.
Yeah, they've been pretty good about holding those plays, though. Not a lot of big plays given up in the first half.
Connecticut starts at the 20-yard line. Bonoslawski throws an interception, and then it's dropped. Looked like it was picked off and then dropped by Antonio Lewis. Never had possession, though, so it's ruled incomplete.
Oh, Lewis was looking at the end zone, Trevor.
He was. Brad Conyu, the receiver, slips and falls. You see him get up there at the very, very end. And that's why this looks like a bad pass, but it's not.
Well, Wow, that could have maybe ended it for West Virginia. You get that pick and run it back for a touchdown after getting one at the end of the first half. That could have damaged any hopes Connecticut had of coming back. They go shotgun. And a little handoff to Cauley. Breaks a tackle and just squirts underneath the defender to the 26-yard line. 6-yard run by Cauley. Check in with Heather Cox. What did Randy Edsall have to say?
Well, I asked him, how do you generate more offense? And he said, it's simple. We just can't drop the ball, and we have to do a better job in pass protection, as evidenced by just the 45 yards on 5 of 12 passing. He also said we didn't play the field position game the way we wanted to. We must do a better job in the second half controlling the ball so we don't give West Virginia a short field, which they almost did a play ago.
And an opportunity here to keep the chains moving and keep West Virginia's offense off the field. 3rd down and a long 3. Bonoslawski going to take off. And Bonoslawski gets the first down. Twirled to the floor by Keelan Dykes at the 34-yard line. But it's an 8-yard gain and a UConn first down.
I like how Bonoslawski has settled down from the first quarter. He started 0 for his first 7 passes. Since then, he's 5 of 6. And that time when everyone was covered, he managed the game by not forcing it, but rather pulling it down and getting the first down himself.
Connecticut 3-3 on the year. As you look at Bonoslawski's numbers tonight, West Virginia 6-0 for the first time since 1996. Cauley can't get outside. Grabbed by Warren Young and a loss on the play. We talked about only 15 rushing yards for Steve Slayton. Still, West Virginia managed 130 yards on the ground. And 93 total yards for Connecticut's not going to get it done, especially if you're averaging only 3 yards a play.
They're not finding any way to come up with a big play. I mean, they haven't found a way to get their big guy, Terry Cauley, the big star, loose. He can't get to the perimeter to make a big play. They can't get it in the passing game from the receivers. They're really struggling to come up with a big play.
2nd down and 11. Play fake. Bonoslawski intercepted through the hands of Cauley and picked off by Boo McClee. Well, they dropped one along the sideline, but on the redirection, they don't drop this one. First turnover of the game, first interception this year for McClee.
Trevor, anytime you throw a ball high over the middle, it's risky. It's risky for this being tipped or getting your receiver hurt. That one was thrown high. No way for Terry Cauley to come up with it.
Bonoslawski under pressure, but he wasn't being hit. He was in control of his body when he released that. We saw him early in the first half throw a lot of balls high and miss high. He settled down since then and threw him down low. He reverted on that play.
So Patrick White responsible for 206 of the 234 yards of total offense for West Virginia. Back to work. He hands off for Slayton. Somehow got to the second level to the 21-yard line for 6 yards. Early 3rd quarter. In this Big East matchup between West Virginia and Connecticut. The Mountaineers looking to stay unbeaten. In less than 2 weeks, they'll take on Louisville. What could be for the Big East Championship. Dave Pasch, Rod Gilmore, Trevor Matich, and Heather Cox. West Virginia comes into this game 5th in the initial BCS standings. There is a 1-loss team in front of them. So in order to play for the BCS National Championship, they have to win out and probably get some help. 2nd down and 4. There goes White. Slipped 1 tackle. Can't get away from the next man. No gain on the play. Take a look at what West Virginia has coming up. We mentioned that after a bye week, they'll play at Louisville on a Thursday night, and they still have to play at Pittsburgh in the backyard brawl and close things out on December 2nd against Rutgers.
And the thing about the schedule, the strength of schedule is very important in the computers that are a part of the BCS standings. And that strength of schedule is not impressive right now.
3rd down and 5. Toss to Slayton. Can't get to the outside. The corner cut off at the 23-yard line by Danny Lansana, who was hurt in the first half but came back into the game.
You saw Rich Rodriguez come out on the field, and he went right after one of his wide receivers, Darius Renaud, because he doesn't feel he's getting enough blocking on the perimeter from his receivers to break Slayton loose.
Receivers in this offense had better block because they don't get the ball thrown to them very much.
And the philosophy for Rich Rodriguez is if you can't block as a receiver, you're not going to play, in part because you're not going to catch a lot of passes. 40-yard attempt by McAfee. 38 and 39-yard made field goals in the first half. This one's no good, though. Connecticut holds. It may have been deflected, partially blocked at the line of scrimmage. Connecticut still has life. The Huskies take over, down 17 when we come back. Fans on a cold and windy night here at Rentschler Field. Their team down 17, but they don't give up any points after the interception thrown by Bonoslawski. West Virginia's offense shut down on that drive, and then Randy Edsall's team partially blocks a field goal attempt. So Bonoslawski under center on first down at the 23. Back to the air. And his pass is caught by true freshman Brad Conyu. Antonio Lewis on the tackle, about 5 yards downfield.
It's so hard for this offense to go 15, 16 plays down the field and get a touchdown. They're going to have to shorten the field. They need a chunk somewhere. Somebody on the offense has to get 20, 25, 30 yards for them to shorten the field.
Connecticut doesn't have a lot of depth, in part because of injuries and also because of players being dismissed. More on that after this play. Second down and 4. Empty backfield. Bonoslawski in trouble and throws it away. Well, we mentioned that Connecticut's had some players dismissed back in September. Marvin Taylor was kicked off the team after being arrested for illegally using a credit card, and then Randy Edsall just a week and a half ago dismissed 5 more players for a separate incident. They purchased a beer the night before a road game at South Florida, brought it back to the hotel. Team rules state you can't even leave the hotel on the road. And Dewar, Dorcelis, McCollum, Standback, and Teague were the 5 players that did it. They brought beer back into their hotel room and were dismissed the following Monday. Cawley taken down in the backfield at the 25-yard line. That's a 3-yard loss. Now, 4 of those 5 players that were involved in the beer incident did have prior arrests, although in talking with Randy Edsall yesterday, he told us that did not factor into his decision to dismiss those 5 players. He said in regards to the situation in Tampa that the teammates were not important to those 5 players and the game was not important to those 5 players, so he felt it was necessary to dismiss them from the football team. Avasaris' punt taken at the 40-yard line by Rivers, up to about the 47-yard line. And we talked about the decision by Randy Edsall to dismiss those 5 players. Was it the right decision? That's the topic of our Friday night debate when we come back to Hartford. West Virginia 20, Connecticut 3, midway through the third quarter. After a UConn punt, the Mountaineers will take over at their 47-yard line. Stay tuned. The Friday night debate is coming up. Patrick White, who has over 100 yards rushing, including a 45-yard touchdown. And here's a little pitch into Ronda Raynaud. Able to get away from one man in the backfield. 3 hard-earned yards as he gets to midfield. We talked before the break about 5 players being dismissed by Randy Edsall for a violation of team rules. With more, here's Heather.
Well, there's certainly lots of debate as to the severity of the punishment for those 5 players. However, there's no debate on whether or not they knew they were breaking the rules. During fall camp, they were each handed a player manual. That player manual read on page 7, absolutely no alcohol is to be carried or consumed while traveling to or from competition. They then signed this contract that reads, in part, I've read and fully understand the policy manual, and I understand all ramifications if I fail to live up to these policies. So certainly no doubt these 5 players knew that they were breaking the rules. They certainly didn't know the severity of the consequences upon doing so, however.
15-yard pickup for Steve Slayton, which takes the ball to the 35-yard line. Edsall pointed that out to us yesterday, that those players understood that they could have to run sprints or even be and to the other end of the spectrum, dismissed from the team if they violated that agreement. And as we mentioned, to even leave the hotel unsupervised on the road is a violation of team rules in Connecticut. Slayton to the outside and gets to the 30-yard line, about 5 yards on the play. So 2nd down and 6 coming up. Randy Edsall, as we mentioned, picked another player off the team in Marvin Taylor, and there are also 5 players, including Taylor, and 4 that are currently on the UConn roster that got suspended before the 2005 season, involved in a pellet gun shooting incident. Again, Edsall did not feel that it was substantial enough to dismiss those players from the team, but you wonder if all of these things, Edsall wanted to make an example of those 5 guys. As White goes to the end zone for Miles, and it's overthrown, incomplete. All right, guys, Randy Edsall made the decision to dismiss those 5 players from the team for bringing the beer back to the hotel. Did he make the right decision? Does the punishment fit the crime, guys?
No, I don't think the punishment fits the crime. I applaud Randy Edsall for showing some leadership and standing by what he believes in. But the punishment doesn't fit the crime. It was too harsh. There were some young players involved here, for one thing. And then secondly, he probably missed out on a teaching opportunity, a chance to educate his players on the misuse of alcohol and violating team rules. And if he had given them an opportunity to find a way back to the team, maybe to dismiss them, but to allow them to find a manner in which they could come back to the team if they fulfilled certain things, as he's done with other players in the past, that would have been more appropriate. But now all he's done is he's eliminated these guys. Some of them, I'm sure, are bitter about it, and they won't learn anything from this situation. And
they stopped West Virginia, so they're going to try a long field goal. Trevor, your take on the issue?
Well, I think Roger makes some good points, but I also think that he has given other players a way back. He has 2 other players that started this game, lost their scholarships last year, and he gave them a way back.
The last attempt by McAfee was blocked. This one, however, is good. His 3rd made field goal, and it's 23-3 West Virginia. Go ahead and finish your point, Trev.
Those 2 players from last year lost their scholarship. They had to walk on, pay their own way, prove to the team, prove to the coach that they wanted to be a part of this. They did have a way back. But I think the fact that this purchase of alcohol being the day before a game on a road trip told Randy Edsall that he didn't want these guys back on the team. And so it's not like he's zero tolerance, but I think this to him was an egregious violation of what he thinks that it means to be a UConn Husky. And therefore, I think the punishment does fit the crime. I think Randy Edsall should be given leeway in terms of determining that because of the way that he's treated other players in the past and the way that he knows his team.
So Rod feels that the punishment does not fit the crime. Trev, you feel that it does. And, you know, it's interesting in light of the whole thing with Miami and Florida International, where you have players getting dismissed at Florida International being suspended indefinitely. In Miami, you have 13 players being suspended, 12 of them for just 1 game.
Well, and this is why I say that Randy Edsall should be applauded for his leadership, even though I disagree with the punishment. There was no leadership coming out of the situation with Miami. I mean, what happened there was you get a response the initial day of suspensions for 1 day, a rush to judgment to satisfy everyone, and then days after that you have the president of the university coming on and then saying we're going to increase those suspensions, a complete lack of leadership. I don't have any problem with the leadership that's exercised by Connecticut here. The leadership should be, will have to respond to, you know, the alums, the board of trustees, and the like. So that's fine. But when you don't lead, that's a problem, and Miami didn't lead.
Well, I think what he did here in this way does lead, certainly, whether or not you agree with the punishment.
Yeah.
And after this play, I want to tell you why, because I think it's very important.
All right, Connecticut will take over on its 20-yard line. West Virginia unable to put away the Huskies yet. Going to go empty backfield. Onoslowski with a fake pass, and he runs. And the ball's on the ground. They're going to say that he was down at the 27-yard line. So he's down after a gain of 7 yards on the play. Trev, go and finish the point.
the other players were looking at this. They had a team meeting the day after the game to discuss it. The players agree with this. They only want players surrounding them that care enough about the team to not violate a written regulation to not have alcohol in the hotel room the night before the game. And so what's happened is everybody else, first of all, knows, hey, this coach means what he says. That means they will be surrounded by disciplined players. And while it hurts to lose those guys, it helps to create the discipline that will build this program.
2nd down and 3 at the 27. Running play that's right at the first down marker. And it appears to be a first down for Connecticut. We asked Edsall about what he would have done in the Miami FIU situation. He said those players would have been suspended. And we asked Edsall, does he think there should be a uniform policy in the NCAA for players that get dismissed in his situation where they bring in beer back to a hotel or for a fight on the field? He felt that there should be a uniform policy in the NCAA. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I disagree with that. I think that the institutions should handle that part of it.
Just to clarify, Edsall said not only suspended but dismissed is what he would have done given the situation between Miami and FIU in that brawl last week. Let's take a look at what you, the fan, think about this debate, whether you side with Rod, who feels that the punishment does not fit the crime, Trevor, who says it does. 65% say yes, it was justified. Over 10,000 of you voted at ESPN.com, keyword Friday Night Debate.
Well, I think a lot of people are really struck by the fact that the players left the hotel and purchased alcohol when they're on a business trip to be with their teammates, and they find that that's something that just goes beyond the pale.
Running play to Pauly, banged around at the 38-yard line by McClee, going to come up a couple of yards shy.
Well, keep in mind also that Randy Edsall is a disciple of Tom Coughlin, who built the Jacksonville Jaguars NFL franchise up from zero, much as Edsall has built UConn up from zero. And what he learned from Coughlin is that you start with integrity, you start with discipline, you start with guys that might not be the best athletes, but that will do all the little things correctly. And I think that's one of the reasons his discipline is so sharp.
Well, I think there was something else going on here. In my opinion, I think he had tried all the other methods with suspensions and the like and had problems, and things were still happening. And I think he probably felt like he had to go further to get the attention of his team.
Bonoslawski's pass batted down, incomplete. It'll be 4th down. You know, the other thing that Edsall said was, hey, I didn't dismiss these players. The players dismissed themselves.
Well, that's not exactly true. I mean, he's in charge of what penalty he imposes on them. He, under the policy that they have, he could have suspended, dismissed, or done anything else. It wasn't automatic dismissal. That was his decision.
4th down, and Pavasaris will punt it away. Rivers waiting for it, and penalty flag down. Going to be interference against Connecticut. And that ball did not touch the punt returner Vaughn Rivers. Otherwise, it would have been a live ball.
Well, that wind knocked the ball down. Rivers came up to catch it as the wind was knocking it down.
The kicking team, 15-yard penalty for the spot of the foul. 1st down.
West Virginia will have excellent starting field position. We're told you that Randy Edsall has dismissed 5 players from his football team. Heather Cox will give you the latest on those 5 players when we come back. The old State Capitol building in Hartford. A cold and windy night. It was raining heavily earlier in the day, but has not rained since kickoff. West Virginia with a 20-point lead. Connecticut has done a relatively decent job defensively, but just has struggled to move the football on offense. And a couple of penalties by Connecticut on special teams, giving West Virginia excellent starting field position, something they don't need to excel. And White gone deep, and Bolden is wide open inside the 5. Touchdown, West Virginia. Patrick White with the arm again. Not just about the quarterback's feet. He can get it done throwing the ball. 52-yard strike to Rashawn Bolden, his first touchdown of the season. Patrick White with a 45-yard touchdown run, a 52-yard touchdown pass, his 6th touchdown pass of the season. Extra point is good. 27 unanswered by the Mountaineers. The second one-play drive tonight.
Hey, take a look here. Miscommunication. This guy stays here. He doesn't take that man, and he's locked on there. Blown coverage. The corner just lets the receiver run by him. He thinks he's got help deep. There is no help deep because of the blitz that was coming, and they blow the coverage.
It's hard enough for anybody to stop West Virginia if they play their assignments correctly. But when you don't, West Virginia, with all that explosiveness, will always find the weak spot.
And that was Branch, the corner that thought he had help deep and had the blown coverage.
Rashawn Bolden's first touchdown of the season. Let's go down to Heather Cox.
Hard to believe that Bolden almost didn't get to make that play. Literally seconds before that play was snapped, Bolden sprinted full dash from the locker room back out onto the field. Had to go briefly into the locker room for an equipment malfunction, came back out and literally got his number called seconds later.
Well, good stuff, Heather. You are on it. Bolden, who broke his foot in the Sugar Bowl last year, a senior who gets the touchdown catch to make it 30-3. Patrick White has been incredible tonight. Larry Taylor waiting for it at the goal line. Taylor wrapped up at the 20-yard line and taken down. Well, before the break, we talked about the dismissal of those 5 Connecticut players. Just to finish the story, let's tell you what those 5 players are doing now and go back down to Heather Cox.
Well, Coach Edsel did grant a full release to all 5 of those players. All of their intention is to continue playing. The hope is doing that at a 1AA school so that they don't lose a year of eligibility. And I did confirm today with officials from Central Connecticut that 4 of those 5 players, Dewar, McCullum, Stanbeck, and Teague, did visit the school last Tuesday for an unofficial visit. Also, Nolas Dewar said he has been contacted by Florida A&M, so all the players hoping for a second chance in their football career.
All right, Heather. Bonaslawski hit, sack back at the 10-yard line. Warren Young has played a lot tonight for West Virginia at defensive end, takes down Bonaslawski.
Well, this offense has struggled in every phase. Remember, this is a young offensive line. A couple of youngsters, a couple of freshmen playing up front, and that time Young just blew right by the right guard.
West Virginia is just relentless. They just keep coming and coming. On offense, it started slow, but they never quit, and they started ripping off big plays, and now the defense is doing the same.
Warren Young, meanwhile, with a sack, 5 tackles in all. Dump it off to Cauley out of the backfield, and he gets back to the line of scrimmage before he gets cracked by 3 Mountaineers. So no gain on the play. 3rd down and long coming up.
Well, at this point, it's really up to Bonaslawski. It's his arm that's got to do things. The problem is his best receivers are all freshmen. They don't have the experience to be able to really go out and defeat this West Virginia defense man for man. And with tight end Dan Murray hobbled by a sprained ankle, his best target is not able to go out and make plays.
He did have a catch that kept the drive going earlier in the contest. Bonaslawski in trouble again, backing up and throwing it away. Upset with the fact that he had a defender in his face again. It was Mark Magro that time. But again, Connecticut with 3 redshirt freshmen on that offensive line.
Well, now West Virginia able just to tee off on the quarterback. In the first half of this game, the running game gained enough yards that they had to respect it. But now they know Bonaslawski has to throw, and they're laying their ears back.
So 4th down, Paviceras kicking out of his own end zone. And that hits the West Virginia player. It's a live ball at the 37-yard line. It hit Vaughn Rivers, the return man. And now a penalty flag flies in. And it's Connecticut football.
And we talked about how the punt gets up into the wind, high above that end zone of the stadium. And that
after the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 15 on West Virginia, 15-yard penalty from the end of the
was too far for him to settle underneath it, and he stops at the last second. Look at Rivers come up. Now he's saying, hey, guys, get away. He's trying to avoid it because it's moving in that wind. That's why it hits him in the knee.
Martin Bedard heads up play to jump in there and recover it. And then the penalty gives the ball to Connecticut on the West Virginia 49.
Best starting field position they've had all evening. This is a chance for them to have a short field and to make something out of it.
Bonoslawski hands for Cauley, looking for a hole. He finds it to the 46-yard line. So much speed for West Virginia. That hole closed quickly. Gain of only 3 on the play.
Nice patience by Cauley that time, waiting to try to find something. Not a lot of room, but he didn't get caught for a loss because he was patient. I think he learned that patience out of being a fisherman, a bass fisherman.
And he wants to be a pro bass fisherman more than anything, as DJ Hernandez is coming to the game at quarterback, replacing Bonoslawski. And Hernandez going to keep. And not much, maybe a yard. Dragged down by Reed Williams at the 45-yard line.
Well, Hernandez was the starting quarterback earlier this season and was largely ineffective in the passing game, and they switched back to Bonoslawski once he became healthy. You see, he's struggled tonight. They have only 45 yards passing.
You look at Connecticut when they made that bowl game a couple of years ago. They had a quarterback, Dan Orlovsky, who's now in the NFL, and they have not been able to replace him. 3rd and 6. Hernandez in shotgun. Here come the Mountaineers, and somebody moved. A couple of guys moved. 2 flags in there.
For Bonoslawski, he was under pressure all night long. He's hit almost every single time he drops into pass formation. He hasn't been safe in the pocket all night.
Well, that's one of the reasons you switch to DJ Hernandez. He's more mobile than Bonoslawski. Gives him a chance to avoid that rush and maybe get an extra element that West Virginia has with Pat White, which is a quarterback that can threaten the defense on the ground.
Under pressure all night long, and it's a big reason why Connecticut has only 3 points. West Virginia has scored 27 straight points since the 13-minute mark of the second quarter. Rich Rodriguez's team looking to stay unbeaten. West Virginia 1 quarter away from staying undefeated. 13 days away from that matchup with also unbeaten Louisville. The Cardinals have Syracuse this weekend. November 2nd, Thursday night on ESPN. We asked Rich Rodriguez about whether he was upset about being 5th in the BCS standings. If he said his players, if they're worried about that, and at this stage of the year, then they're not the kind of players that I thought they were, as that pass is caught by Brous, but a couple of yards shy of the first down. It appears, though, Connecticut will go for it on 4th down.
Well, the tough part of their schedule, West Virginia, is coming up with games against Louisville, Pitt, Rutgers. Right now in the top 8 of the BCS ranking teams, West Virginia's strength of schedule and computer rankings are by far the worst.
They're going for it on 4th down and 3. DJ Hernandez, who's come on from Matt Bonoslawski, lines up in shotgun. And a complete pass across the middle for a first down. Caught by Brandon Young at the 32. Let's go back to the studio. A SportsCenter 30 at 30 update and Reese Davis.
All right, Dave, game 1 of the World Series set for tomorrow night, and Anthony Reyes will go against Justin Verlander. A couple of rookies going for the Cardinals and Tigers, respectively. First time that's ever happened in game 1 of the World Series. Byron Leftwich, a veteran hurler for the Jaguars, questionable for Sunday's game against the Texans. SportsCenter after the game news always.
Meanwhile, another quarterback starting to heat up. DJ Hernandez hits Brandon Young again, very close to the first down, pushed out by Antonio Lewis.
Well, Hernandez has given this offense a little jolt of energy. He's certainly throwing the ball better, but he's got the wind at his back, which Bonoslawski didn't have the benefit of when he was in there. He was throwing into a very stiff wind.
Hernandez is a great athlete. You talk about baseball. He batted .400 in high school baseball.
3 for 3 so far passing. Great games tomorrow coming up on ESPN, including that Clemson-Georgia Tech game. Penalty flag down as the ball is down at the 23-yard line.
Delay game on On the defense, calling signals to try and cause the offense to false start. 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
That is the call that you rarely see in football. Delay of game on the defense. When's the last time you guys saw that call?
It's very rare, but you're not allowed to do that to interfere with the offense. You can call your own defensive signals, but you can't simulate hut, 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 or those types of things.
Play fake. Hernandez slips and now runs, and he gets a block inside the 10. And banged out a play around the 6-yard line by Lewis. Nice block downfield, and Connecticut is inside the 10.
That was Donald Brown. Saw his quarterback scramble. He was running, or he was on a route. As soon as he saw Hernandez break the line of scrimmage, he turned the block. Look at number 34 on the right of your screen. Goes on a pass route. Hernandez breaks the line. He turns and gets a block.
So first down and goal at the 7-yard line. Second time in the red zone for Connecticut tonight. Had to settle for 3 points the first time. Hernandez to throw. Steps up. Eludes one man. Throws it away. Thrown to the back of the end zone. There were 2 UConn players back there, but the pass too high. James Ingram put pressure on Hernandez that time.
Like a game of whack-a-mole. They're trying to get him. He keeps on coming right back up.
You know, they had a lot of room out to the left side. They're on the right hash mark, and that time they had all of their receivers congregated in the right side of the field. There wasn't much room out there. It was hard to find someone. Now they've gone to a more spread offense to use the field more effectively.
Second and goal at the 7. Hernandez with time. Everybody's covered. And now Hernandez just throws it up. And it is going to be intercepted. West Virginia picks it off Vaughn Rivers. Warren Young got to Hernandez, and he just threw it up for grabs.
Well, that's why Hernandez lost his job to Bonizlowski. Now he's going to try to throw this away in the grasp of the defender. He's trying to get it out of bounds, but because of the defenders, the foot's down. Great catch. Because the defender's got his body, he's not able to follow through with that throw. It's turnovers in the red zone that cost him his job earlier.
Well, Randy Edsall telling him about it right now on the sideline. West Virginia takes over. And it's 6.
Well, when you throw that ball up for grabs like that, you throw away points. And they had a chance to come back on the next down and try for a touchdown, or ultimately kick a field goal, but they gave away the points by just throwing the ball up.
Hand off to Slayton, gets to the outside. And up to the 24-yard line. Clearly the best run of the night for Steve Slayton. Prior to that, he had only 37 rushing yards on 14 carries. He's at 55 yards on 15 rushes right now.
Well, yeah, he's been bottled up. He's been the guy they've keyed on. They set their defense to bring pressure off the edge to make sure that he was not able to get outside and make a big play. And with the paltry running night he's had tonight, you know something? He doesn't care. He really doesn't care. He is team first and foremost.
See the numbers comparison first to second half. He'll get it again. And again has room on the outside. A couple of penalty flags down. Guys, as they sort this out, do you think tonight Slayton has damaged his Heisman hopes?
Well, I don't think he's helped his situation at all, but the good news for him is that no one is really starting to threaten Troy Smith.
Holding, number 65 on the offense, 10-yard penalty from the line of scrimmage, repeat first down.
If you look at your top contenders, Adrian Peterson of Oklahoma got hurt. Garrett Wolf of Northern Illinois didn't have a good game last week. And Brady Quinn of Notre Dame is trying to get back in there. So this doesn't help him, but no one has really stepped forward as an alternative to Troy Smith. Now, you'll get a chance to see Ray Rice tomorrow, and he may step up.
And Rice, another sophomore, but also this year is campaigning for next season. Gets name recognition. Slayton does. He's only a sophomore now, and he can set himself up to go to New York this year, and maybe the Heisman next.
Rice and Rutgers play Pittsburgh at 5:45 Eastern on ESPN2 tomorrow. White takes it to the 14-yard line. No gain on the play. Guys, where did you have Steve Slayton ranked? in the Heisman situation coming into this game?
Well, I had him number 2 on my list behind Troy Smith of Ohio State. And had Garrett Wolf there, Brady Quinn also in the mix as far as I'm concerned. I think Brady Quinn was robbed last year. I thought he should have been in New York last season, and he should be somewhere hovering around New York until he plays himself out of it.
Trevor, you had Slayton second as well, with Hart and Ray Rice in the mix. Slayton again to the 20-yard line.
The reason I like Mike Hart is that he's having a terrific year statistically, but what he's meant to this offense for Michigan has been way beyond what the statistics are. He's taken pressure off of Henne at quarterback. He's really put the last chink in the armor, not chink, but the last chain in the armor, and made this whole Michigan offense elevate, not just the running game.
Still a lot of football to be played, and the chance for any of those guys to really step forward and become a threat to Troy Smith.
White in trouble. Gets away from a couple of Connecticut players and then throws a pick. Goes it right to Dante Moore. That might be the first thing that Patrick White has done wrong all night. Interception, Dante Moore, Connecticut ball.
And if I'm Rich Rodriguez, I'd be concerned about the number of hits Patrick White is starting to take. I mean, this is an unnecessary hit for him in this situation. Throw the ball away. He's been running the ball tonight, getting hit, and now it's the fourth quarter. You're up 27 points, and he gets hit like that on an interception.
And take a look at number 43, Ryan Hennigan. He doesn't just hit him here the first time. He stays with him, and now he hits him again when he gets back up.
Play fake, and Hernandez going deep. Almost picked off. A diving attempt by Quentin Andrews. Guys, do you agree with Rich Rodriguez's choice to leave Pat White, Steve Slayton in the game up 27 early fourth quarter?
You know, I don't. I think at this point, West Virginia is all about winning games, and they're going to need their players healthy for this stretch run, because this is when their schedule starts to get difficult. They had a softer beginning, but now it's getting tough, and they will need their backups to have a game experience well in case one of their starters gets hurt. That's an opportunity now to give them that.
Hernandez off play action, in trouble again, and his pass went through the hands of 2 Connecticut players, incomplete. Well, remember, Heather talked about, does West Virginia need style points? Does it need to tack on touchdowns? As we look at that pass that slipped through the hands of 2 Connecticut players.
Perfectly thrown ball, 2 shots at it. But getting back to West Virginia, Dave, I think you're right. I think Heather's right. Style points are important. If you wind up comparing teams head to head, when you look at their season like this, you say, geez, West Virginia, I wasn't that impressed with on Friday night. Boy, the SEC, oh boy, you got, Florida still out there with 1 loss. Tennessee, and you're looking at Auburn as well. All those schools are competitors with West Virginia.
Hernandez on 3rd down and 10 finds his tight end Dan Murray. He is short of the first down. Connecticut will go on 4th down.
West Virginia right now is 5th in the BCS rankings, and their computer score is way low. It's 460. 4th is a 1-loss Auburn team with a computer score of 810, nearly double. And so they really do need to keep the human polls high to overcome that.
The first 4 teams in the BCS are pretty solid. Ohio State, USC, Michigan, Auburn. After that, you have to go to number 11, Tennessee, and Tennessee still has a shot.
Hernandez lobs to Cauley, and they get the first down. They go for it on 4th and 3, and they pick up 7 to the 11-yard line. Warren Young with a tackle downfield. Well, we may not even be talking about West Virginia even being in position as we look at the replay here of that 4th down and 3 conversion. But guys, if Ohio State or Michigan go undefeated until they meet in the regular season finale and USC wins out, which is certainly possible, then it probably doesn't matter what happened to West Virginia or Louisville.
Well, that's true. And remember, there's still Louisville out there, too.
Yeah.
I mean, West Virginia has to play Louisville.
That's 13 days from now. Hand off to Donald Brown to the 7-yard line. Gain of about 4 on the play. Now, we talked about Heather Cox. Now you're going to hear from her. What's up, Heather?
This is a very intense, emotional West Virginia squad, taking anything for granted. Following that interception, offensive line and assistant head coach Rick Trickett gave this O-line a tongue lashing unlike any I've honestly ever seen. Very aggressive, very physical, very emotional, assessing specific blame to a specific guard on that play and on that interception. Then Coach Rodriguez got over and got involved in the act, and this is the reason that they are ranked number 4 in the country. They are very intense and not letting anything slip by.
Trickett is
the game clock to 9 minutes.
Trickett is an ex-Marine, and he's very hard on his players, but the players love him.
Well, they're very hard on the players in practice, too. I mean, it's a very competitive environment at West Virginia. You're expected to compete in practice every day, or you may lose your starting position.
Hernandez cut down to the backfield by Jay Henry.
Rick Trickett, being a former Marine, his practices are the hardest on the offensive line of any position group. Those guys work harder than anybody else, and Trickett is in their face constantly during practice. It's fast-paced. There's never a breather, and they told us, the offensive linemen of West Virginia, that games are actually easier than practice.
Well, he's an ex-Marine, and Rodriguez, he's the son of a coal miner. I mean, you got two pretty tough guys there.
3rd down and 7. Hernandez with a deep drop. He's still behind the line, and now he has to commit to running the ball. He gets to the 5, so they'll go for it again on 4th down. Tackle by McLeod.
He was not going to throw that ball. I mean, you know, he was thinking about the tongue lashing he got from Randy Edsall that last time he was down here, and he threw that ball up for grabs. He was not going to do that again and walk over to see that man.
Well, he was looking for Donald Brown, the freshman, in the corner of the end zone, and when he scrambled, Brown should have gone somewhere. Instead, he stood there with his hands in the air and didn't give Hernandez anywhere to throw.
Connecticut going for it again on 4th down and 4. They can still get a 1st down without getting a touchdown. Hernandez flushed out again. Spins past one defender, and he dives for the pylon. No signal yet whether he's in or not. Yes, touchdown, Connecticut. And the Huskies will go for 2.
Well, he had no choice but to run, Trevor. The same thing happened. His receivers ran into the end zone and stopped. They stood flat-footed and watched while he took off. They did not keep scrambling to give him a chance, and he gets the ball over the pylon for the score.
Now remember that these receivers are young. The freshmen have usurped the upperclassmen at receiver because the upperclassmen were not productive. The freshmen aren't quite sure what to do at this point when the quarterback takes off on the scramble. The only receiver that ran was tight end Dan Murray. He's a senior, but his ankle limited him, and he ran very slowly.
You got to help your quarterback in a scramble situation. You got to move towards him to give him a target.
So Connecticut going for 2. And they run Cauley, trying to muscle his way into the end zone. And they haven't signaled yet whether he got in. They want to see where he is. Now the signal. 2 points for Connecticut. Well, guys, we saw Louisville a couple of weeks ago. Definitely some chinks in their armor. And perhaps some teams will look at this game to see maybe the chinks in West Virginia's armor here tonight.
Well, this is just amazing effort by Cauley. 5'7", 195. He lowers his shoulder. He gets hit at the 2-yard line, and yet he keeps on going. Now, the question is, was his knee down before he got over? And that's why the official is running up. They couldn't see it either. Let's see it this. Now, watch his knee.
Look at the leg drive there. Backing in.
We'll sort it out when we come back. They are not going to review the 2-point conversion. Terry Cauley gets in to make it 30-11 West Virginia.
Well, Cauley getting the two-point conversion after this Hernandez touchdown run and coming back from a terrible injury in 03 against Virginia Tech. He said that the sound of the ligaments in his knee rupturing were louder to him than the crowd at Virginia Tech. It took him 22 months to come back, and he drove the West Virginia offense into the end zone from 2 yards out on that play. I'd say he's back.
Gee, that was a nice thought. Going to carry that with me for the rest of the night. Rivers on the return up past the 30-yard line, cuts it back, and all the way to the 47-yard line. West Virginia leading by 19 tonight. Louisville takes on Syracuse tomorrow. 13 days away from West Virginia and Louisville squaring off. We'll tell you who's going to win that game when we come back to Hartford. Well, we were talking earlier about Tom Coughlin and Randy Edsall being a Coughlin disciple, having worked together at Boston College and with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Coughlin at the helm of the Giants, Bill Parcells at the helm of the Cowboys. And those two teams will square off on Monday Night Football on ESPN. First down for West Virginia at its 47-yard line. Steve Slayton, who's 9 yards away from his second straight 1,000-yard rushing season, will get the call. Into the secondary. And about 10 or 11 on the play to the 42.
I think he just picked it up, huh? Needed 9. I think he got 10 there.
So back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons for the true sophomore. Well, guys, we mentioned before the break, West Virginia and Louisville. Yeah, we're 13 days away. Yeah, Louisville still has a game to play before then, tomorrow against Syracuse. But if you had to pick a favorite today based on what you've seen both teams in person, guys, who has the upper hand going in?
I thought you were going to pick, since you made that proclamation.
You're the expert.
We're going to pick. I thought that meant you.
They want to know what Rod and Trevor think. I'm just here to... Oh, Slayton puts it on the floor. That won't help his Heisman chances. Darius Raynaud recovered it for West Virginia. There's a penalty flag down. I would have to say that Louisville has the upper hand based on what I've seen, because Brian Brom is back. Although no Michael Bush for the Cardinals, and he's the guy that really hurt West Virginia last year.
Good.
After the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 62 on the offense, 15-yard penalty from the end of the play. It will be second down.
West Virginia won that matchup with Louisville in 3 overtimes last year. Let's take a look at what happened there. Just a bad exchange between White and Slayton, and then West Virginia recovers, and then the personal foul.
Well, getting back to that game, it is early to pick it. I think the most you can say right now is that West Virginia is healthier than Louisville, since Michael Bush is missing. He's being replaced by George Stripling and Mr. Smith. They've combined to really kind of pick up the slack there, particularly with touchdowns, but not the same kind of powerful rusher as you had with Bush.
Look out, Steve Slayton to the outside, inside the 20-yard line, and 4.4 speed by Steve Slayton takes him into the end zone for a West Virginia touchdown. 56-yard run by Steve Slayton. That might help his Heisman chances. We went from possibly hurting it on the fumble, and I'll maybe erase that on that 56-yard touchdown run.
Well, he's fresh, whereas Connecticut's defense is tired. This is one of the benefits of such a fast-paced practice. Normally in a 5-minute period, most teams will get in 8 plays. West Virginia gets in 12 so that they stay fresh at the end of games.
You still haven't weighed in on the West Virginia-Louisville game, Trev. We're going to have to wait.
Yeah, you keep trying to get folks to pick 13 days in advance. Kind of early, buddy.
Steve Slayton, now 128 yards rushing, just like that. West Virginia leads by 26.
ESPN's College Football Primetime. Brought to you by Nissan, proud presenter of the 2006 Heisman. Visit theheismanvote.com to cast your vote. And Papa John's. Order pizza online 24 hours a day at papajohns.com.
The Soldiers and Sailors Memorial Arch in Bushnell Park in Hartford honor 4,000 Hartford citizens who served in the Civil War. We're in East Hartford, Rentschler Field, where Steve Slayton has just gone over 100 yards on the day. He got 113 second half rushing yards. And West Virginia now leads 37-11 over Connecticut. All right, Gilmore didn't give me much love on the West Virginia-Louisville thing, so I'm going to you, Trev. McAfee's kick, trying to kick it away from Larry Taylor. Taken by one of the up men at the 25-yard line and out to the 28. Well, Trevor, you're on the spot.
Well, I think if Brom were healthy, even without Bush, I would take Louisville at home. I think Brom can spread the ball around the field with his arm every bit as well as Pat White can spread the ball around the field with his legs and his arm. However, he's coming back from missing a month, Brom is, with thumb surgery on his throwing hand. Last week against Cincinnati at home, they could only manage 23 points. He is not sharp as he normally is, and therefore I think Pat White will give next week West Virginia the advantage at quarterback. Now, right now, Brian Brom and the Louisville Cardinals are watching this game in their hotel. They play at Syracuse tomorrow, and they don't like that very much. But that's just a physical matter that he's not as sharp as he normally would be.
And see, that's why you should just relax and just wait a little bit. Let Louisville play this weekend. Let West Virginia have their week off. And, you know, we got another game. We can pick that game as we get closer.
When we get closer, it's next week, Rob. Pick.
Let's let West Virginia finish this game. Louisville play tomorrow.
What, Rod, West Virginia's going to change your mind in the next 3 minutes?
Louisville might change my mind tomorrow.
Hernandez hits Hawley out of the backfield. Well, Syracuse really struggled to stop West Virginia's offense. You'd imagine they have a lot of trouble stopping Louisville's offense tomorrow. Let's check in with Heather down in the field.
Well, I did talk to the Louisville staff this week, and a couple of updates to help you guys with your picks. Petrino is certainly not satisfied with his offense. In fact, he'll make a couple of changes tomorrow, one of them being perhaps trying that no-huddle offense. He'll also go to some bigger backs. You'll see a little bit more of Brock Bolin instead of George Stripling. Also, a little update on Brian Brom. He's about 95% of his hand strength back. He says he's feeling about as good as he felt before he broke it.
And he did play last week in a win over Cincinnati as that pass is caught by Conyu. Rod, who do you think is going to win West Virginia-Louisville in 2009?
That's a better question. Now, see, that's good information from Heather. I've got something to look forward to tomorrow when I, park myself in front of the TVs and the computers to get the game plan going and watch everything. I can look for that in the Louisville game. I want to see the young freshman with the big running back.
Hernandez on the run. Good move to the outside. And taken on a play by Antonio Lewis at the 39-yard line. If you're Louisville, guys, is this the blueprint? What Connecticut's done? Are they going to look long and hard at this tape to see how to defend West Virginia spread offense?
Well, I think generally everybody has had the concept that you take Slayton out of the game, you force Patrick White to throw the ball as much as possible early on, and you get ahead of them early. I mean, that's kind of been the blueprint. I think people will look specifically at Connecticut and see how the pressures work from the outside.
Yeah, I think the difference with Louisville is that they have two very good cover corners, and so they can pressure and make it harder for Pat White to complete balls to those receivers.
Hernandez with time to throw, and penalty flag down. Interference on Vaughn Rivers. He reached over Brad Conyu, and he'll get flagged.
Rod, who wins? West Virginia, Louisville. Who wins? Go. Based on what you know tonight.
Enough already. We got a flag here.
Do you want to call a winner in this one?
You're killing me. You're just killing me.
Pass interference. Number 24 on the defense. Ball be placed at the spot of the foul. First down.
I mean, for a guy that likes to debate, Rod, especially
why are you guys so
Trevor,
why are you
not saying anything?
Well, why are you so interested in my pick 2 weeks in advance? If I change my mind, can I change my mind next week if I want?
Sure.
Okay, then maybe I will. All right, good.
You still aren't. Wow. Hernandez gets smoked, and the ball is fumbled at the 30-yard line. It was forced by John Holmes as he hit the quarterback. Connecticut did recover.
Well, Hernandez is looking downfield, trying to make a play, and whoa, does he get hit hard.
Now, Louisville, I'm sure with Brian Brom, who's been injury prone over the last couple of years, doesn't want to see their quarterback get hit the way Bonoslawski and Hernandez have tonight. Taylor can't hold on to it over the middle, incomplete. Sports Center is coming up next with Scott Van Pelt and Neil Everett. Maybe they'll tell us who's going to win that game between West Virginia and Louisville. A World Series preview from Detroit coming up, and a preview of Monday Night Football. Terrell Owens and the Cowboys against the Giants. And some great games in college football once again tomorrow, including Texas and Nebraska on ABC, yep. Georgia Tech, Clemson on ESPN tomorrow night.
And Pitt and Rutgers tomorrow. Ask me about any of those games. I'll give you a pick.
3rd down and 16. South Florida, Cincinnati. Who's going to win, Rod? More penalty flags down on the field.
Okay, Texas, Nebraska. That's legit.
I like Texas.
False start, number 73 on the offense. 5-yard penalty. Remains 3rd down.
Nebraska, 1 loss, USC. Nebraska, Zach Taylor is throwing the ball well. That West Coast offense is clicking.
So you like Nebraska over Texas tomorrow?
No, I like Texas. But Nebraska, I think, might give them a tougher shot than people imagine.
Okay, I'll buy that.
Texas is 3-1, and Lincoln, as that pass is batted away, incomplete on 4th down, so West Virginia will take over. Well, guys, Texas, we were talking about West Virginia, people being disappointed about the Mountaineers being 5th in the BCS standings. Well, Texas is 9th in the BCS standings, even though they're ranked 5th. Excuse me, I said it was 4th down. It was 3rd down, so now it's 4th down for Connecticut.
And Mac Brown was surprised that they were as low as 9th. He thought they'd be closer to 5th or so, given their schedule and given that they're the defending champs.
You know what, though? Even though they played Ohio State, their computer ranking is lower even than West Virginia's.
4th down and 21. Hernandez just got to throw it up for grabs and throws it out of bounds. So now West Virginia will take over. Randy Edsall is in his 8th year at the helm, and a lot of people thought that he might be interested in the Syracuse job when it came open. There were a lot of reasons, though, to stay at Connecticut, including a beautiful $50 million indoor practice facility and training center in Stores. It's 85,000 square feet. Incredible locker room, incredible practice facility. They used to have the student athletes go all over the place to get food or for study halls, and now they have it all in one place. And Chef Bob is there too. Running play to the outside, and a gain of about 4 on the play.
Well, all those facilities, that great place we visited yesterday tells you that there's a commitment to football at Connecticut. So many people view it simply as a basketball school, but the football program is putting all the money into that now. You're seeing that commitment as we look at Jared Brown step on the field now for West Virginia at quarterback.
Brown, a redshirt freshman, replacing Patrick White. You've got obviously great success with the men's basketball program, the women's basketball program. Some of the Olympic sports have done well here at Connecticut. And the football program was in a bowl game 2 years ago in just its 3rd year of Division 1A football. Running play by Bruce that doesn't get a whole lot, so it'll bring up a 3rd down.
Well, Gino Ariema, the women's basketball coach, Jim Calhoun, the men's basketball coach, were on board with getting Connecticut football from 1AA to 1A because the Big East, half the schools don't even play football. It's all basketball. And having a successful 1A football team not only brings extra revenue in from television and from gate at the stadium, but it also gives them more clout in terms of negotiations and different decision-making in the Big East.
Shotgun for Jarrett Brown on 3rd down and 8. Hand off to Bruce, and he's got the 1st down out near midfield. Well, the West Virginia coaches think that Jarrett Brown has a bright future at West Virginia, although he's likely going to back up Patrick White for the next 2.5 years. But Brown considered more of a pure passer than White, although Patrick White throwing the ball today was really impressive, guys, because Connecticut was forcing him to, and he made plays.
Yeah, he certainly delivered when he had to. Also running the ball, he made a couple of big plays, but his passing game was certainly on target tonight when it had to be. And Jarrett Brown is a bigger Patrick White. He's about 6'4", 220.
Running play to Bruce to midfield, and maybe a half a yard on the play. And that will likely be the final play of the game. Well, guys, West Virginia better than you thought, not as good as you thought, about what you thought.
Well, I tell you, I think they're about what I thought, which is to say you get an entire defense to load up to stop Slayton, and Pat White picks it up. You can't stop this offense.
Yeah, I think they're pretty good. I think they're pretty good. Not as explosive in the passing game as I thought they could have been tonight, but boy, they are as fast offensively as anyone out there.
9 straight road wins, 14 straight wins overall. That is a new school record as Rich Rodriguez's team goes to 7-0, 2-0 in the Big East. They are off next week, and then November 2nd, 13 days away from the showdown at Louisville, an exciting triple overtime game last year. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Rod Gilmore, Trevor Maddich, Heather Cox, our entire ESPN crew, I'm Dave Pasch. Now, here's SportsCenter.